Chapter 1948. Chapter 1948, Untitled. What? Feng Sun jumped up and stared at Feng Wu. What did you just say? Feng Wu grinned at Feng Sun, leapt over the rail, and jumped into the sea. She didn't even cause a splash. Feng Sun was anxious. By the looks of it, the one she was fond of wasn't Boss June. But if not him, who? Yuminji? No, it couldn't be him. But who else? Could it be Jun Linyan? Feng Sun paled. Hearing this, Jun Linyan ran happily to Feng Sun and asked in bewilderment, "What happened?" Feng Sun looked Jun Linyan up and down, then shook his head. This guy was too silly compared with Boss June. Why would Feng Wu choose him over Boss June? That was just stupid. But Feng Sun couldn't figure it out no matter what. By then, Feng Wu had reached the bottom of the ocean. In this little world under the sea, the resources were similar to those in her old world, but not exactly the same. In her old world, the sea was full of fish. After that, there were other sea creatures such as shrimps, crabs, and other shellfish. But it wasn't like that here. Feng Wu didn't see any fish here, but there were a lot of crabs and shellfish. However, Feng Wu smiled bitterly. It seemed that Jun Linyan wouldn't catch any fish after all. What a pity. Just then, Feng Sang and Dugi Yamo came back up together with Feng Wu. Feng Wu didn't want to, but the other two insisted. Feng Wu, I know you're smart. Dugi Yamo had to recognize Feng Wu's capability now. Tell me, how many kilograms of food do we have to feed that sea dragon to fill its stomach? Feng Sang looked at her as well. Feng Wu had done the calculations, and she answered as soon as Dugi Yamo asked. If it's not pregnant, 50,000 kilograms would do, but it's storing food for its pregnancy now, so 250,000 kilograms. 250,000 kilograms. When the others all came back to the boat and heard the news, they almost slipped back into the water. Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu. Do we need that much? Feng Wu nodded. That's only the minimum. Feng Sun said. If that's the case, let's get some fish then. If we can catch something as big as a shark, it won't be so hard. I remember that you can lure a shark with blood, so let's use mine. Feng Sun rolled up his sleeve and exposed his strong arm. Feng Sang and Dugi Yamo both gave Feng Sun strange looks. Feng Sun said, I mean it. I grew up eating all kinds of tonic, and I have yummy blood. It'll draw the shark here. Just wait and see. Feng Sun was about to cut his own wrist when Feng Wu stopped him. Feng Wu shook her head. Forget it. It won't work. Feng Sun said, Why won't it work? My blood. There's no shark. Dugi Yamo couldn't take it anymore. She looked from Feng Sun to the sea and said angrily, There's no fish in the sea. Feng Sun chuckled. Are you kidding me? What kind of sea doesn't have fish? Chapter 1949. Chapter 1949, Untitled. Feng Sang was about to speak when Feng Wu shook her head. She then said to Feng Sun in a serious tone, It's true. There's no fish in this sea. Feng Sun was rendered speechless. Xian Yi was speechless. So was Jun Linyan. Feng Sun said, So, there's nothing large either. Only shrimps, crabs, and shellfish. Feng Wu heaved a sigh. They're neither too small nor too big. But do you remember what the Ghost King said? All eyes were on Feng Wu. She said, I now see what he meant when he said that the sea dragon only ate shellfish without the shell. The shell is heavy, and without it, the flesh inside only weighs so little. 250,000 kilograms. Dugi Yamo looked like she was about to cry. How are we ever going to make up that amount? She counted with her fingers. We can hold our breaths longer than normal people, but not indefinitely. We can go without breathing for 3 minutes at most, but how many things can we catch in that time? Dugi Yamo removed a sack from her back and poured out the crabs and shellfish inside. It was true. There was no fish at all. Everyone fell silent when they saw this. Dugi Yamo shook her head at Feng Wu. It's an impossible task. We can't do it. Feng Sang was almost crying. If there's hope, we'll do our best, but the problem is, how are we going to find 250,000 kilograms of shellfish flesh in 15 minutes? Feng Yuran looked up at the sky. We worked so hard to come from the first floor to the third one. The Ghost King is doing this on purpose. How are we going to find so much food? They had to take a breath every 3 minutes. How much food could they fit into those sacks in 15 minutes? Jun Linyun scratched his head. There has to be a way, right? Feng Yuran said, no, there isn't. Your Royal Highness, we have no hope left. Do you have any suggestions? Jun Linyun didn't know what to say because he couldn't think of anything. Feng Sun said, too bad that we aren't of the water attribute. If we can go in with you guys, it'll be a lot faster. Feng Wu smiled and opened her right hand. Have you forgotten about this? Everyone looked at her hand. A pearl the size of a pigeon's egg lay there, and it was glowing brightly. The water dragon ball, Jun Linyun cried out. Feng Wu nodded. This is what I borrowed from the sea dragon. Let's see what it can do. Feng Wu injected her spiritual essence into the water dragon ball. Immediately, it shone even brighter. Feng Wu yelled, part the sea for me. With that, the water dragon ball created a gust of wind, which was aimed at the sea surface. The wind was like a sharp blade, which split the sea open. Part, Feng Wu bellowed. With that, the wind sank into the sea and pushed the seawater to either side. Thump! Chapter 1950, Untitled. Chapter 1950, Untitled. 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches. The sea really parted. Oh my God! Everyone watched this in astonishment. Dugayamo covered her mouth with her hands and couldn't believe what she was seeing. 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters. Soon, there was a 10-meter gap, as if invisible walls were keeping the two sides apart. In the space between the two sides, countless shrimps, crabs, and shellfish lay at the bottom of the sea. Feng Wu said, the water dragon ball won't keep the water apart forever. Let's start gathering food. Wow! Feng Sun cried out with wide-open eyes. The water dragon ball almost seemed to be tailor-made for the three of them who couldn't swim. Did Feng Wu plan this when she borrowed the water dragon ball from the sea dragon? That was so incredible. You and Boss Jun are so similar. Both of you can think 5, 6, or 7 steps ahead of you. Feng Sun patted Feng Wu's shoulder. The next second, he jumped into the sea, which had opened up. How amazing! The water dragon ball could open up the sea without leaving a drop of water behind. Seeing this, Xin Yi jumped in after Feng Sun. Jun Linyun looked at Feng Wu with shiny eyes and clenched his fists in excitement. My goddess, you're so amazing. I promise that I'll never give up on you. I would prefer that you do. Before Feng Wu could say that, Jun Linyun had jumped into the sea. Dugayamo looked at Feng Wu and wanted to say something to thank her, but she had been Feng Wu's enemy for so long that she couldn't bring herself to say such things. At that thought, Dugayamo put on a stern face and jumped in without giving Feng Wu another look. Feng Sang felt the same way as Dugayamo, and so did Feng Yuran. Hence, the three of them jumped into the sea one after another, leaving Feng Wu behind on the boat alone. Feng Wu rubbed her nose. At the bottom of the sea, everyone was busy working, but someone indeed needed to stay behind to give the others a hand. For instance, Feng Sun was in trouble now. There were so many shrimps, crabs, and shellfish at the bottom of the sea, and all they needed to do was stuff them into their sacks. Whoosh! They moved so fast that it was impossible to follow the movements of their hands. But now, they ran into some trouble. Feng Sun was the first to realize it. He looked behind and saw over a dozen sacks. But how are they going to get them back to the boat? The bottom of the sea was 500 m below the boat. It's not that easy to fly up there. Without the water, how are we going to get up there? Feng Sun scratched his head. Jun Linyun said, there's seawater on both sides of us, isn't there? We can swim up. Feng Sun rolled his eyes at Jun Linyun. Use your head. The sea has been parted, which means that there are invisible walls on both sides. We won't be able to get through. Jun Linyun realized that as well. Feng Sun smacked his head. I remember I saw some rope on the deck. The others all looked at him. Chapter 1951, Untitled. Chapter 1951, Untitled. Feng Sun said excitedly. Xiao Wu is still up there, isn't she? If she's smart enough, she'll lower the rope down now. We can then tie the sacks onto it, and she can pull them up. She can then empty the sacks onto the deck before throwing the sacks back down. The more Feng Sun spoke, the more excited he got, and he clenched his fists. Yes, that's how we can do it if Feng Wu is smart enough. The others gave it some thought. That's right. If Feng Wu is smart enough, she should have realized that by now and lowered the rope. But what if she isn't that smart? Feng Sun said, "That's okay. I can go back up first, then." Just then, Jun Linyan pointed above them and cried out, "Ark! Look!" They all followed his finger. Then they saw, crack, something rumbled overhead, and a giant shadow blocked their vision. The air seemed to warp. Everything trembled. It felt as if someone was sailing a giant ship in their direction. As a matter of fact, oh God, it's Feng Wu. She's coming down together with the boat. Dugayamo looked at the sky in disbelief. Feng Wu actually, that was such a reckless move. Thump! The boat landed with a loud thump. The seabed shook violently, and the impact created a large pit. Luckily, Feng Sun and the others ran quickly enough. Otherwise, they would have been buried. There was dust everywhere. Xiao Wu, Feng Sun reacted first. He quickly rushed over to her side and asked, "Xiao Wu, are you all right?" Cough. Feng Wu emerged from the dust and waved at him. "I'm fine. My stomach is churning a little, but it'll go away." Feng Sun asked in astonishment, "Why are you here?" Feng Wu said, "I was worried that you wouldn't be able to get all the seafood back onto the boat, so I came down with the boat." Dugayamo stomped her foot. "Feng Wu, you've made a terrible mistake." Feng Wu was confused. "What?" Dugayamo said, "I know you're trying to help by bringing the boat down, but how are we going to get it back up there?" Everyone was looking at Feng Wu. That was right. Once they loaded the seafood onto the boat, how are they going to get it back up? This is impossible, Feng Sun said anxiously. "Xiao Wu, how could you do such a silly thing? We figured it out already. You only need to lower a rope. We'll then tie the sacks onto it, and you can pull them back up." The others nodded in agreement. Right now, they were all on the same side. But Feng Wu only gave them a strange look. She pursed her lips and said impatiently, "Don't you know the saying?" "What?" Feng Wu said, "When water rises, the boat rises with it." Everyone stared at Feng Wu. Their heads buzzed, as if they had just been struck by lightning. When water rises, the boat rises with it. Ah! Feng Sun was the first to realize it. Burying his head in his hands, he yelled, "How can I be so stupid? I'm such an idiot." Chapter 1952, You Lost One. Chapter 1952, You Lost One. The others realized it as well, especially Dugayamo, who had been the first to ask the question. She smacked her own head. "Gosh, I'm so stupid. Why did I ask such a silly question?" The others figured it out as well, and they all started questioning their own intelligence. Ahem. Seeing that they all looked bewildered, Feng Wu cleared her throat and prompted them. "What are you waiting for? Do you have a lot of time on your hands?" That was right. They all seemed to wake up. Time was of the essence here, and they couldn't afford to waste a minute. Quickly, Feng Sun waved his hand. "Everyone, get to work." Luckily, Feng Wu had brought the boat down, so they didn't have to worry about carrying the bags. Feng Wu smacked her head. Picking up the seafood would be quick, but the sea dragon only wanted the flesh, not the shells. Hence, with a wave of her hand, Little Phoenix flew out of the ring space. Apart from Little Phoenix, there was also Feng Tutu, the adorable tiger cub. Feng Wu gave them instructions. "Remove the shells." Before Feng Tutu could say anything, Little Phoenix protested first. It glared at Feng Wu. "Why should we do it?" Now that it had retrieved part of its memory, it remembered its previous life as Master Phoenix. Why should it do hard labor? It was humiliating. Feng Tutu understood what was going on. It didn't mind doing hard labor. As soon as it heard Feng Wu's order, it ran happily to her side and sat down. With its paws, it picked up a shellfish and crushed the shell, leaving only the flesh behind. It glanced at Feng Wu and asked with its big, bright eyes, was it doing the right thing? The cub was so adorable that Feng Wu felt her heart melt when it looked at her. Yes, Feng Wu rubbed the cub's fluffy head. That's right. Tutu, you're the best. Aw, the cub flushed at the compliment, and its shiny eyes could melt one's heart. Little Phoenix snorted and stomped its foot. It then raised its chin proudly. It was mad. That cub. Feng Wu rubbed Little Phoenix's head as well, which destroyed its arrogant image. She then smacked the bird's head. Get to work. Everything else can wait. She walked away after that. Little Phoenix was speechless. She wouldn't even comfort it. Seeing the current situation, Little Phoenix knew very well that their most important task was to remove the shells. Luckily, with its sharp claws, Little Phoenix could remove the shell in one move. The two spiritual pets worked together, one crushing and one prying. The shells were quickly removed. Dugiyamo, who was also busy with her work, suddenly smacked her own head. Gosh, the others all looked at her. That sudden outburst was quite scary. Chapter 1953, You Lost Too. Chapter 1953, You Lost Too. Let's start removing the shells. Dugiyamo cried out. Have you forgotten what the Black Robe Ghost King said? The sea dragon only wants the flesh. That reminded the others. Picking up the seafood was fast. All they needed to do was stuff them into the sacks. But the problem was, the shells had to be removed. I'll do it, Dugiyamo said. I'll go with you. Feng Sang followed her. But they couldn't believe what they saw on the deck. Where did the two spiritual pets come from? Dugiyamo couldn't believe her eyes. They saw Little Phoenix and the tiger cub. Both were fierce, spiritual pets, but they were very obedient now. Both were devoted to their work without even looking up. Whom do they belong to? Dugiyamo was amazed. They look very capable, at least much better than either of us. They're both obedient and powerful. You can play with them and use them in battle as well. How wonderful. Do you know who their owner is? Do they belong to the seventh prince? Dugiyamo asked enviously. But Feng Sang immediately turned to leave. Hey, Feng Sang, where are you going? Answer my question. Dugiyamo ran after Feng Sang. Feng Sang threw her a dirty look without saying another word. Dugiyamo's eyes lit up. Do you know who their owner is? Feng Sang said, Stop it. Dugiyamo asked, Why not? They are very impressive. That cub is an adorable thing, but if you look closely, you'll see that it's a spiritual elder. And there's the little phoenix. If it can pass the trial of fire, it'll become a real phoenix. The two animals aren't naturally compatible, but now they're working together. Other people will be so astonished. Who? Feng Sang said, Feng Wu. Dugiyamo looked around. Feng Wu isn't here. Feng Sang took a deep breath and found Dugiyamo's remark idiotic. I mean that they belonged to Feng Wu. Dugiyamo was astonished. Feng Sang felt the satisfaction of revenge, and she smirked. Yes, you heard me. The person you've been admiring is Feng Wu. Dugiyamo was speechless. Feng Sang gave her another glance before storming off. Dugiyamo bit her lower lip, and she was overwhelmed with complicated feelings. Feng Wu. That lucky person is Feng Wu. Dugiyamo murmured to herself. Suddenly, Duguyamo's stomach lurched because she realized something. Before, if she heard what Feng Sang had just said, she would be so jealous and angry that she would be grinding her teeth. But now, she didn't feel that way anymore. What did it mean? It could mean one of two things. The first possibility was that she had become Feng Wu's friend, so she had stopped envying her. Dugiyamo shook her head. Although she wasn't against Feng Wu now, they weren't friends. And the second possibility was, the difference between them was simply too huge that she could no longer see Feng Wu as a competitor. Therefore, she had stopped envying her. Chapter 1954. Chapter 1954, Untitled. That conclusion was quite hurtful. Dugiyamo's first reaction was to deny it. However, deep down, she knew that the second possibility was the truth. No, Dugiyamo held her head in distress. She could admit that on the first two floors, Feng Wu had saved everyone by discovering some unique method, But to admit that she wasn't even close to Feng Wu's level was too painful a reality to accept. Guillermo fell into pained silence. 15 minutes passed very fast, especially since it was a countdown. 3 minutes left. Feng Sun was filled with despair when he saw what they had gathered so far. Yes, they had found a lot of seafood, but it was nowhere near 250,000 kilograms. What should they do? 2 more minutes left. 1 minute. 30 seconds. The countdown went on. Everyone looked more and more desperate, and they all looked defeated. Just then, ha ha ha, they hear a gloating guffaw, which only worsened their mood. It was none other than the Ghost King, who had given them this impossible task. Ha ha, my little friend, have you finished? The Ghost King's giant face reappeared in the sky. He was laughing so hard that his whole face twitched. We're doomed, Feng Sun thought to himself. Well, that was smart. I see that you've pushed the seawater aside. The Ghost King grinned when he saw the space. So, have you finished the task? Everyone fell silent. The Ghost King descended with a whoosh, riding the pregnant sea dragon. He glanced at the food and asked the sea dragon, "Is that enough?" The sea dragon frowned and shook its head. No, no. The Ghost King pondered. The sea dragon said matter-of-factly, "There's 50,000 kilograms of meat here. In a normal situation, it would be enough to fill my stomach. But things are different now. I'm pregnant, so this is only 20% of what I need." The Ghost King looked down at Feng Wu. "Kid, did you hear that? That's not enough." Feng Wu bit her lower lip. Immediately, everyone became very quiet. Drip, drip. Time ticked by, and the 15 minutes were soon over. Everyone was panic-stricken. Was that heart going to explode? What would happen? Were they going to die? They were still fidgeting when the Ghost King grabbed the heart at the last second. It didn't explode. Feng Sun and the others looked nervously at the Ghost King and kept trembling. That was because, if the Ghost King released the heart, they would all die. "Kid, you didn't finish the task on the 3rd floor. Do you admit it?" The Ghost King asked in a righteous tone. He had complicated feelings as well. He wanted Feng Wu to win and lose at the same time. He wanted her to win because he was moved by what she had said. If the survival team could turn the situation around and win the competition in the end, it would be a great story. And he wanted her to lose because... Chapter 1955, Survival. Chapter 1955, Survival. He wanted her to lose because the girl was too confident, and too much confidence was arrogance. The Ghost King wouldn't accept the possibility that the girl could defeat him. Therefore, the Ghost King gloated at Feng Wu and wanted to know what she would do next. Feng Sun and the others were very anxious. What should they do now? Their hearts were thumping. They needed 250,000 kilograms, but they only had 50,000 kilograms here. That was only 20% of what they needed. Guillermo and Feng Sang looked at each other, and both were filled with despair. "Ha, so you admit that you've lost, right?" The Ghost King stared at them. No one answered. The Ghost King laughed and gave Feng Wu a pitying look. "Well," he said, "you bit off more than you can chew. This is it. You've lost, so you're all going to die." He almost bellowed the second half of his words. Feng Wu cried out when he was about to crush the heart. "Wait!" Immediately, all eyes were on her. The Ghost King frowned at Feng Wu as well. Feng Wu smiled calmly. "We've lost? Says who?" Everyone's faces lit up. That was... The Ghost King stared at Feng Wu in bewilderment. Before he could ask, Feng Wu asked, "Why did you say we lost?" "Ha ha, kid, it's too late for that now." The Ghost King smirked, thinking that Feng Wu was only trying to buy more time. Feng Wu stared at the sea dragon and asked, "All you need is 250,000 kilograms of food. Is that correct?" The sea dragon looked back at Feng Wu and said affirmatively, 250,000 kilograms, not 1 gram less. Feng Wu smiled. "And seafood will do, right?" The sea dragon smirked. "That's right. Anything will do, but you don't have any fish here." Everyone was frustrated by the fact that there was no fish in this sea. Feng Wu asked casually, "So, fish will do as well?" The sea dragon stared at her and sneered. "Of course, if you can find any." The others had lost all hope. Where is she supposed to find any fish? She was only human. Just then, Feng Wu chuckled. All right, what did she mean by that? Could she make fish appear out of nowhere? They all looked at Feng Wu in resignation. Disappointed, the Ghost King was about to destroy the heart. Whoosh! They heard something overhead. Things began to fall from above. Thump! Thump! It was like a heavy shower, but it was a shower of fish. Everyone was dumbfounded by the falling fish. They watched what was happening in astonishment and disbelief. Then, they looked from the fish to Feng Wu. Feng Sun was rendered speechless. Duguyamo was speechless. Feng Sang didn't know what to say, nor did the sea dragon. Even the Ghost King, who had seen enough strange things, was staring at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled at him. Will these fish do? Chapter 1956, Untitled. Chapter 1956, Untitled. Fish. Where did the fish come from? Everyone stared at Feng Wu in astonishment for a very long time. Where did these fish come from? Did she conjure them? How did she do it? Even the arrogant Ghost King was shocked, let alone the others. How did you do it? He stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu said, What? Is it that hard to do? Was it hard? The others almost cried when they heard the question. It wasn't just difficult. It was impossible. Seeing how excited they were, Feng Wu said, Do you mean these moonfish? Feng Wu waved the ring on her finger and told Feng Sun, You helped me catch them. Have you forgotten? What? I see. Feng Sun smacked his head. He finally recalled. It was true. Back on their way to the senile grassland, Feng Wu had found a place to take a bath. Gosh, I'm so stupid. Feng Sun smacked his head again. He genuinely found himself too stupid. How could he have forgotten all of it? That was why Feng Wu had been very confident from the very beginning. She had had a card up her sleeves. Xiao Wu, you're so awesome. You planned 1,000 steps ahead. Feng Sun shook with excitement. You knew you should catch some moonfish on your way to the grassland. How did you plan so far ahead? Feng Sun admired her so much. He found Feng Wu very smart. So smart that she was becoming a second Jun Lin Yuan. Feng Wu waved at him. I didn't plan that far ahead. Back then, I thought that the moonfish were so nutritious and that the senile grassland was so far away from water that fish had to be rare here. So I caught some, thinking that I could sell them on the grassland. She then shrugged, and things just kept coming up after we got here. I was so busy that I forgot completely about it. If it wasn't for the sea dragon, I would have forgotten them completely. However, the explanation only seemed to emphasize how lucky she was. She caught some random fish, and she solved a crisis later on with them. What kind of luck was that? Feng Sun was silent. So was Duguyamo, and everyone else, because they didn't know what to say. Feng Wu smiled at the sea dragon. What do you think? These fish are very famous, aren't they? Jun Lin Yuan himself had complimented how good these moonfish were. Smelling the spiritual essence rising from the deck, the sea dragon knew that the moonfish was worth its fame. That was such a pleasant surprise. But it had to ask for its master's permission first. So it turned around and gave the Ghost King a longing look. If it could eat these moonfish, its future baby would be so amazing. But the Ghost King was so difficult to predict, and no one knew what he was thinking. And no one knew what his answer would be. Chapter 1957. Chapter 1957, Untitled. Feng Sun and the others had realized what was going on and were all delighted. They could finally survive the 3rd floor. That was great. Immediately, they all ran toward Feng Wu. They raised Feng Wu and tossed her up. Xiao Wu, you're great. You're so awesome. How can you be so smart? Xiao Wu, why are you so lucky? Even Duguyamo and Feng Sang were greatly excited, let alone Feng Sun, Xin Yi, and Jun Linyan. They seemed to have forgotten their feud with Feng Wu. Everyone was jumping and celebrating. The Ghost King felt equally conflicted. He didn't expect the girl to be able to turn things around again. But he would feel so humiliated if he let her go just like that. Since she was so smart, he would play some more games with her. At that thought, the Ghost King smiled at Feng Wu and spoke indifferently. Although the moonfish are full of nutrition, if I remember correctly, they're not sea fish. The excited crowd immediately fell silent. A terrible silence fell upon them. They all stared at the Ghost King in bewilderment. What did that mean? The Ghost King smiled at Feng Wu. They're from a river, aren't they? Feng Wu said, Are river fish not acceptable? The Ghost King turned her down with a smile. I'm afraid not. Everyone paled when they heard those words. If river fish didn't count, these moonfish wouldn't be counted as seafood. Then they wouldn't have enough food here. The sea dragon gave the Ghost King an anxious glance. It wanted these moonfish, which were much more precious than any seafood. But the Ghost King didn't even look at the dragon. He only smiled eerily at Feng Wu. He wanted to see what this arrogant and stubborn girl could do. Feng Wu smiled. Are you sure? The Ghost King said, Yes, I am. Feng Wu said, Is there no way around it? The Ghost King grinned. No, there isn't. Feng Wu said, Then tell me this. We're sea fish. The Ghost King gloated. Why do you even ask? Sea fish are those that swim in the sea. The next second, thud. With a flip of Feng Wu's sleeve, the moonfish that was scattered around the deck were all thrown into the sea nearby. Feng Wu was so fast that no one saw it coming. They were all shocked when they realized what had happened. Dugu Yamo shrieked. Feng Wu, what are you doing? Feng Sun cried out as well. Xiao Wu. The Ghost King stared at Feng Wu in bewilderment. He frowned and believed that Feng Wu must have her own reason. But no one on Feng Sang's team knew it. Feng Sang cried out, Feng Wu, have you lost your mind? How could you do that? You're insane. But Feng Wu didn't say anything. She only flipped her sleeve again. Thump. The moonfish were scooped out of the sea and thrown onto the deck again. Now, they're sea fish, she smiled at the Ghost King. They've swum in the sea. The Ghost King was speechless. The rest of the crowd was equally silent. Feng Wu crossed her hands behind her back and smiled at the Ghost King. Is everything fine now? Chapter 1958. Chapter 1958, Untitled. Fine. The Ghost King stared at Feng Wu and didn't say a word for a very long time. He didn't expect the girl to have stashed so many fish in her storage space. Storage space was very precious, but she had used it to store fish. Was everything fine now? Since the Ghost King had specified the terms, he would be discrediting himself if he changed them again. Therefore, he glanced at Feng Wu. You're a cunning girl. Feng Wu cupped her fists. I'm flattered. The Ghost King flipped his sleeve. If I tell you that that won't do it, I don't think you'll be convinced. Feng Sun and the others nodded. In that case, you've passed the third floor. If the Ghost King had no hope for Feng Wu at first, he now at least had 30% hope in her. Things would be very interesting if she really could turn things around. Before he knew it, what Feng Wu said had taken root in his mind and was slowly growing. Seeing that the Ghost King was going to disappear again, Feng Wu asked, Can I have the water dragon ball? Suddenly, the Ghost King's eyes snapped open, and he stared at Feng Wu with cold and sharp eyes. Had the girl learned something? The sea dragon protested, No, give it back to me. Feng Wu knew that the sea dragon was the Ghost King's contracted beast, and it couldn't make such a decision. Therefore, she looked at the Ghost King and spoke like a spoiled little girl. I don't care. I've given the dragon so many moonfish, so I should get some reward for it. I want this water dragon ball. I want it. Oof. The Ghost King looked at Feng Wu in resignation. He was very good at handling his enemies, but she was just a girl, and one that he was growing fond of. He didn't know what to do with her. The water dragon ball is created with my life force. I can't. But the Ghost King cast a stern look at the sea dragon before it could finish. It's not like you can only have one water dragon ball in your lifetime. The sea dragon said, Master. The Ghost King waved impatiently. You're going to have a baby soon. Isn't that more important than the water dragon ball? The sea dragon said, But are you ever going to stop? She gave you so many fish. Are you going to take them for free? Don't be so greedy. The Ghost King did things as he liked. Seeing that Feng Wu had passed 3 floors in a row with more and more amazing methods, he began to like the girl more. So what if he gave her some things? But he didn't know that Feng Wu had figured him out already. The sea dragon didn't have a choice but to stay silent. The Ghost King and the sea dragon gradually faded into thin air, until they were nowhere to be seen. Wow! Feng Sun was the first to react. He ran toward Feng Wu. The others ran to her as well and picked her up. Feng Wu chuckled. Hey, what you guys doing? Feng Sun said excitedly. Xiao Wu, you're awesome. How can you be so smart? You found so many moon fish, and you passed the Ghost King's test. More importantly, Chapter 1959. Chapter 1959, Untitled. Feng Sun said, as if that's not enough, you asked the Ghost King for the Water Dragon Ball. What's more terrifying is that he gave it to you. Xiao Wu, how can you be so awesome? The others were almost as excited as Feng Sun was. In comparison, Feng Wu was the calmest of them all. Seeing the others throw Feng Wu high in the air and catch her before throwing her high up again, Duguyamo couldn't help but smile. Feng Sang came to stand by her side and sighed in amazement. Some people are just born with more luck. Duguyamo's stomach lurched. She looked at Feng Sang and asked, Are you saying that everything Feng Wu achieved is because of luck? Isn't that it? Feng Sang blurted out. Duguyamo turned to look at Feng Sang and noticed the jealousy in the latter's eyes. Suddenly, she found Feng Sang's face rather hideous. Hideous? Duguyamo's heart raced when she realized what she was thinking. She couldn't believe it. Before, she was just like Feng Sang. She used to be jealous of Feng Wu and kept telling herself that Feng Wu was able to do all those things because she was lucky. Because if she didn't think that way, she would have to admit that she wasn't as good as Feng Wu. But in fact, yes, Feng Wu was lucky, but she couldn't have made it this far on luck alone. Duguyamo suddenly realized that she had begun to accept Feng Wu's success. What did that mean? She was bewildered. What's wrong? Perplexed, Feng Sang looked back at her ally. Duguyamo shook her head. She didn't know what to think. She couldn't understand herself anymore. Meanwhile, Feng Sun had finally finished celebrating. Feng Wu smiled and said, This is only the third trial, and we have 4 more to go. We'll celebrate after we reach the 7th floor and defeat the chosen team. As soon as she said that, all the laughter stopped. Defeat the chosen team and win the game? Was she dreaming? Don't you believe me? Feng Wu smiled. But that's what I've always believed. Feng Sun clenched his fists. Sure, we'll defeat the chosen team, and they can go to hell. Ha ha ha! The others became excited as well, except for Feng Iran and Feng Sang. The two of them looked at each other, and both saw contempt in each other's eyes. Defeat the chosen team? This little success had stopped Feng Wu from thinking properly. I wonder which floor the chosen team is on now. Their tasks are much easier than ours. I hope they're not too far ahead. Feng Sun cried out at that moment. Look, the fog surrounding us has dissipated. Wow, I can see the light on the other side. It's like seeing a building being sliced in half. The lights on the other side. They're lit all the way up to the 5th floor. What does that mean? Feng Sun cried out at that moment. Look, our side is only lit up until the 3rd floor. Chapter 1960. Chapter 1960, Untitled. Duguyamo's heart lurched. Are those lights an indication of how many floors we've passed? She was only guessing, but as soon as she said it, the others all stared at her, making her heart race. She looked at the others in confusion. Why are all of you looking at me like that? Feng Sun said. Why do I feel that what you said made sense? Jun Linyan nodded as well. I think Duguyamo is right too. Duguyamo said. If that's the case, does that mean that the chosen team is on the 5th floor already? I hope that I'm wrong. However, at that moment, Duguyamo suddenly spotted a familiar figure on the other side. Once the fog dissipated, they could see the other side more clearly. And that person was, isn't that Feng Lu? On the other side of the separated building, Feng Lu was walking up the stairs when Duguyamo spotted her. They weren't that far from each other. They were only less than 100 m apart, and with their sharp eyes, they could see the expression on each other's faces. When Dugayamo spotted Feng Lu spotted her as well. She tugged at Sapphiro and beamed at her. Princess, princess, look. That's the survival team over there. Everyone in her team turned around and gave the other team condescending looks. Sapphiro said, "Gosh, they're only on the 3rd floor." Feng Lu put on a concerned look. "What happened? Why are they still on the 3rd floor? It's been quite a while already." Sapphiro said, "It seems that they're moving toward the 4th floor now." Feng Lu said, "The 4th? Awesome. We're on our way to the 6th. Ranmil saw the 3 lights and smiled coldly. "Feng Wu, why bother struggling if you know you're going to die?" Although, the second prince said seriously, "They're in hell mode. I didn't expect them to be able to reach the 4th floor. I thought that they would still be wandering around the 1st floor now." Even the quiet Master Jew said, "That's right. They're only 2 floors behind us. Don't underestimate them." Hearing that, Ranmil and the others looked concerned. Seeing the look on Ranmil's face, Sapphiro chuckled. "Sister, you're our great leader. It's not like they would follow Feng Wu's instructions over there." Feng Lu said, "Of course it's not her. She's so weak and so proud. If she's the leader, they would still be on the 1st floor now. I think the leader is either Feng Sun or Shinny." Sapphiro nodded. "Absolutely. It can't be Feng Wu." Hearing this, Ranmil didn't look so frustrated anymore. She said indifferently, "We should look ahead of us, not over our shoulders. We'll soon reach the top floor." Chapter 1961. Chapter 1961, Untitled. The others all nodded when they heard that. Ranmil had completely ignored Feng Wu, and her team agreed that that was the right attitude. Meanwhile, the survival team. Feng Sang looked disappointed. I waved at them just then, but they didn't respond to my greeting. Didn't they see me? Dugayamo rolled her eyes at Feng Sang. "Are you that dumb? If we can see them, they can see us. They just don't want to talk to us, all right." Feng Sang was speechless. Dugayamo was concerned when she said, "They're already on the 6th floor now, and that's only 1 floor away from the top floor. It'll be so hard for us to catch up with them." Feng Sang was even more disappointed. "That's an understatement. There's no way that we can catch up with them." Dugayamo glared at Feng Sang. "We have Feng Wu," Feng Sang said, "but they have Ranmil." Dugayamo glared at her. "Feng Sang, which side are you on?" Everyone stared at Feng Sang in bewilderment. Although Feng Sang didn't dare retort to Dugayamo, she still mumbled, "If Feng Wu is better than Ranmil, why have we only reached the 4th floor?" Dugayamo raised her fist at Feng Sang, but Feng Sang only stared at her. "Dugayamo, are you on Feng Wu's side now? You're speaking up for her all the time." Dugayamo was rendered speechless. Was that true? Feng Wu rolled her eyes at them and gestured at Feng Sun to shut them up. Useless arguments like this would only waste their time. As soon as Feng Sun spoke, they stopped quarreling. On the 4th floor. By now, Feng Wu had figured out the pattern, which was the 5 elements. The 1st floor was metal, the 2nd wood, and the 3rd water. In that case, the 4th floor had to be fire. As expected, they saw a world of fire when they reached the 4th floor. It was a great fire. There were flames in the sky and on the ground. The temperature was so high that no ordinary person could get close. Feng Sang was filled with despair. She bit her lower lip and said grumpily, "I've been hoping that this task would be easier. That way, we can catch up with the chosen team a little. But this is more difficult than any of the 3 trials before. What are we going to do now? Are we going to die here?" Many of them seemed to have lost hope. But Feng Wu remained unaffected. She studied the conflagration a short distance away. Time slowly passed by. Frustrated, Feng Sang wanted to grab Feng Wu. But Dugayamo had been watching her. Seeing Feng Sang's movement, she immediately stopped her. "What are you doing? Let go of me. I'm going to ask Feng Wu." Feng Sang glared at Dugayamo. "We don't have time to waste. That heart is halfway to exploding, but she's still sitting there. What's she doing?" Dugayamo noticed it as well. Everyone had noticed it. Feng Wu was the only reason that they were able to reach this floor practically unscathed. They noticed that all the members on the other team had injuries on them. One could tell that they had been through some tough battles. Chapter 1962. Chapter 1962, Untitled. Therefore, when they stood hopelessly at the entrance of the fourth floor, they involuntarily turned to Feng Wu for help again. Are you nuts? Duguyamo smacked Feng Sang on the forehead. Feng Wu is trying to figure out what to do. Once she has a plan, she'll be able to lead us forward. Feng Sang glared at Duguyamo. Are you sure she can come up with an idea? How do you know that she'll be able to lead us out of here? Duguyamo said, I don't. Feng Sang said, then why do you? Duguyamo found Feng Sang's question idiotic. What's wrong with you? Feng Wu never promised that she would win the game for all of us. We made her the captain. She's not obligated to do that. To put it in simpler terms, we're all depending on Feng Wu now. She's doing us a great favor if she wants to help us, but if she doesn't want to, we can't blame her for anything. Why do you sound so righteous when you're begging for help? Who do you think you are? Even an emperor's daughter wouldn't talk like that. That rendered Feng Sang speechlessly, and she stared at Duguyamo. She had realized that she was too agitated, but impending death only made her panic, which made her even more distressed. Duguyamo, you've changed. You're taking Feng Wu's side all the time now. You've become her minion. Feng Sang tried to set Duguyamo against Feng Wu. The old Duguyamo would have jumped up in rage by now, but after her brother's betrayal, Duguyamo could think more clearly now. She smirked. Feng Wu is wise, level-headed, and resourceful. I'm proud to be her minion. So what? Feng Sang pointed at Duguyamo with a shaking finger. You, cut it out. Look at Feng Wu, Feng Iran reminded them. At the same time, Feng Wu. She slowly walked toward the center of the flames. Isn't she going to get burnt? Although she was of the fire attribute, the fire was so big that even Feng Sun didn't dare to get closer. Not only had Feng Wu walked in, she also didn't seem to be affected at all. What was going on? They knew nothing about Feng Wu's two spiritual pets. Both were the fire attribute. As Feng Wu marched forward, the two pets sat on her shoulders and absorbed the flames with all their might. It was the purest form of abnormal flame. To them, this was the greatest tonic. With each mouthful they absorbed, their capabilities increased significantly. They were so excited that they trembled from head to toe. Level 7, Spiritual Elder. Level 8, Spiritual Elder. Level 9, Spiritual Elder. If Feng Sun and the others could see this, they would be so jealous. Feng Wu walked to the source of the fire, where she stopped. From afar, she looked like a goddess of fire. The others watched in amazement as she was bathed in flames. How was Feng Wu able to walk in the fire? How? Chapter 1963. Chapter 1963, Untitled. Did you see that? When she walked, the flames automatically parted in front of her. That was how she was able to reach the center. They parted for her? How? Feng Sun and Xian Yi had clearly seen that Feng Wu's spiritual pets were clearing the path for her, but they didn't want to tell the others, especially not Feng Sang. They were still taking precautions against those two people. Meanwhile, Feng Wu had entered an incredible state. She knew that the fourth floor was a giant Bagua diagram. There was yin and yang, fire and water, and black and white. The diagram began to turn in her head. Suddenly, she sat down cross-legged and started cultivating. Is she cultivating? Feng Sang was shocked. She watched in disbelief. She couldn't understand why Feng Wu would start cultivating when everyone was waiting for her to get them out. Does she even know what she's doing? Feng Sang pointed at Feng Wu in disbelief. If I'm not mistaken, she's cultivating, isn't she? She sat down in the flames. Does she have to do that now? Isn't she in a hurry? Doesn't she know how worried we are? Feng Sang glared at Duguyamo as she spoke. Duguyamo didn't know how to defend Feng Wu this time. Even she began to be suspicious of Feng Wu now. Feng Sun stared at Feng Sang. Xiao Wu had an enlightenment, so she needs to cultivate. If you have a problem with that, you're free to walk away. Off you go. Feng Sang was speechless. Feng Sun said, "No one is stopping you. You can leave now. And the rest of you, feel free to leave. If you believe in Xiao Wu, stop nagging and wait here. Otherwise, be quiet." The Ghost King might be eavesdropping, because when Feng Sun said those words, another passageway appeared, leading to another building. Words also appeared on the corridor. Discontent members are free to go their separate ways. Seeing this, Feng Sun laughed. He pointed at Feng Sang and said, "See, that's from the Ghost King. Aren't you unhappy with Xiao Wu's leadership? You can go. The exit is right there." He even gave her a little shove. Feng Sang was speechless. Her face paled, and she wouldn't move an inch, fearing that Feng Sun really would push her into that corridor. Even Feng Iran wouldn't utter a word, let alone Feng Sang. The room finally quieted down. Feng Wu had no idea of any of this. Right now, she was cultivating. But she wasn't working on her spiritual essence. She was working on a major stance. Feng Wu had always been good at the fire attribute. When she walked toward the source of the fire, she had sensed the spirit of fire underneath. She wondered what would happen when the fire attribute was combined with the guardian of the earth. She was looking forward to it, but she knew that she had to make it quick. Chapter 1964. Chapter 1964, Untitled. Feng Wu realized that her pets were absorbing the flames way too fast. The cub was only taking small bites, but fire was pouring down Little Phoenix's throat. As it swallowed, the flames around them disappeared at a tremendous speed. Feng Wu knew that she didn't have much time before the heart exploded. Therefore, she used the fire to practice ground fire, which was a very powerful stance. She had learned 6 stances of the Guardian of the Earth and had reached perfection in ground control, the AoE stance. Right now, she needed to combine ground control with the fire attribute. As time ticked by, Feng Sun and the others became more and more anxious. Just then, Feng Wu cried out, "Ground fire! Crack!" With that, she successfully controlled all the fire in the room, which all stopped moving. The others were all astonished. The flames had stopped moving at her command. That was so incredible. Just then, Feng Wu cried out again. "Ground fire! Extinguish!" Whoosh! All the flames in the vast room disappeared. Apart from the charred and smoldering ground, there was nothing left. The cub wasn't full yet, so it looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. So did Little Phoenix. Feng Sun and the others couldn't believe their eyes. They almost couldn't recognize Feng Wu anymore. Feng Wu smiled a little. "Ground fire up." Thump! The extinguished fire was suddenly ignited again and began to spread out as they watched. Everyone was astonished. This Feng Wu, Little Phoenix, and the cub looked at her in resignation. Was she playing with fire now? Feng Wu then yelled, "Ground fire go!" With that, all the flames were stored away in her storage space. Everyone was speechless. They had never seen something like that before. However, storage space was something beyond their reach, and it was only normal that they hadn't seen it before. "Let's go." Feng Wu rose to her feet and glanced at her teammates. Feng Sun was pleasantly surprised. "Go," Feng Wu said matter-of-factly. "Don't you want to go to the next floor?" Feng Sun looked shocked. "Are we done here?" Feng Wu said, "There's no fire, so yes. Look, the stairs are right over there." With that, she walked toward them. Everyone was speechless. Even Feng Sang, who had been complaining before, couldn't say a word now. That was so fast. They looked at the other team when they walked up the stairs. They were still struggling on the 6th floor. We're a little bit closer to the chosen team. Dugu Yamo clenched her fists. Feng Sang smirked inwardly. So what if they were? There was no way that Feng Wu was going to win. She had no hope in that aspect at all. But she didn't dare to say that out loud like before because she knew. Chapter 1965. Chapter 1965, Untitled. If she dared protest again, Feng Sun would throw her into that other corridor. Without Feng Wu's help, what could she do? Dugu Yamo glanced at Feng Sang and gloated. "Maybe we really can win this." Feng Sang rolled her eyes at Yamo and wouldn't make any comment. Feng Sun and the others were so confident that they wished they could confront the chosen team now. Meanwhile, the chosen team. Hey, look! Sapphiro turned her head and saw the survival team, which was headed for the 5th floor. They're entering the 5th floor now. Didn't they only get to the 4th floor just now? How could they have passed it already? Hearing that, the others looked in that direction as well. It was true. The survival team had indeed passed the 4th floor and had reached the 5th floor. That was fast. The second prince narrowed his eyes and felt a sense of crisis. Master Ju frowned as well. Sapphiro, on the other hand, didn't think much of it. She said indifferently, "So what if they've reached the 5th floor? We spent so much spiritual energy on that floor, and we've all been more or less injured. How can they possibly do better than us?" Feng Lu looked at Ranmil and saw that the latter didn't look pleased, so she immediately chimed in. "That's right. They can't do better than us. We have Princess Ranmil here." Ranmil only frowned and said, "We need to move faster." The 6th floor involved the dark element, which was quite hard to handle. Feng Lu glanced at Ranmil and felt her stomach lurch because she could tell that the princess was in a bad mood. Was she affected by the feeling of impending crisis as well? Over on the other end, Feng Wu led the others to the 5th floor. According to the sequence of the 5 elements, the 5th floor should be the earth element. When they entered the 5th floor, Feng Sang was the first to shriek, because cones with sharp tips popped out of the ground at random spots, and they kept changing places. It was like a whack-a-mole game. When one cone sank into the ground, another would pop up somewhere else. There was no way to predict their movements. Feng Sang had shrieked because a cone suddenly popped out and stabbed into the bottom of her foot. Blood immediately oozed out. After Feng Sang, Yamo had the sole of her foot stabbed as well. She managed to dodge in time, however, so the cone didn't pierce her foot. Even so, her foot was still bleeding. That's so scary. The cones keep popping out everywhere. They're completely unpredictable. I want to leave. I don't want to stay here. Let me go. Stop crying. We're here now. You can't just leave. This place is full of these cones. How are we going to get out? There's no safe spot. All we can do is keep our eyes open and watch out. Arg! The cone will pierce my feet if I just stand here. What should I do? Chapter 1966. Chapter 1966, Untitled. Panic. The entire survival team panicked. What should they do? They could neither move nor stay where they were. Neither option would work. Sharp-tipped cones popped out at random moments, and there was no way they could be prevented. They're alive. They moved too fast. The chosen team passed this trial already. I wonder what method they used. While the others were worried sick, Feng Wu activated her formidable stance. Ground fire. As soon as she activated the stance, the sharp cones stopped moving, as if frozen on the spot. Break! Feng Wu yelled. With that, a terrifying earth power filled the space. Pop, pop! Everyone watched in surprise as Feng Wu's formidable power pulverized the sharp cones until there was nothing left but loose sand. Everyone was speechless. They all stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. She's so powerful, Yamo cried out. Feng Sang kept her mouth shut and didn't dare utter a word. Feng Sun said, "Xiao Wu that stance." Ground fire stopped the cones from moving before burning them to the ground. If the stance was used on a human being, imagine what would happen then. Feng Wu remained unperturbed, despite how astonished the others were. She smiled and said, "Let's go to the next floor." Led by Feng Wu, the survival team quickly charged toward the 6th floor. At the same time, the chosen team was on the 6th floor as well. Princess Ranmil. Princess Ranmil. Feng Lu couldn't be of much help, so she had been keeping an eye on the other team. She panicked when she saw that the 5th light for the survival team was lit. "Princess, look, they passed the 5th floor. They're headed for the 6th floor now." Everyone was speechless. That's impossible. They only just reached the 4th. But Sapphiro never got to finish the sentence. because the other team had already reached the 6th floor. Sapphiro said, "No way. They have. That was so fast. Are they going to catch up with us?" By then, everyone felt a sense of imminent crisis. I didn't know that Feng Sun could do this. I've underestimated him. The second prince narrowed his eyes. After all, he's Jun Linyuan's follower. How weak can he be? We shouldn't be talking about Feng Sun now. We need to figure out how to get rid of them. Shut up, all of you. The innocent Ranmil yelled, her face turning livid. The others all gave her strange looks. She looked so aggressive and fierce, and her aura was so formidable that the innocent and adorable girl was nowhere to be seen. Do you think I could do it all on my own? I'm only human. If you want to win, focus on our problem here. They're working together while you're chatting away. If we lose, I'm going to make you all pay for this. She didn't sound so confident anymore. She couldn't be bothered to play nice anymore. Chapter 1967. Chapter 1967, Untitled. Feng Lu and the others looked at one another, and they began to panic. By then, Feng Wu's survival team had reached the 6th floor. It was of the dark attribute. The chosen team is on the 6th floor, and so are we. That means that we still have a chance. Duguyamo waved her hands in excitement. There's a high chance that we'll win, right? Everyone gave Feng Wu expectant looks. But Feng Wu shook her head. Why? Since the 6th floor has the dark element, the 7th floor will have the light element. Ranmil will have a difficult time on this floor, but the next one is right up her alley, said Feng Wu. Feng Sun clenched his fists. Once they get to the 7th floor, they'll proceed so fast that we'll never be able to catch up with them. Therefore, we must work fast on this floor. Everyone gave Feng Wu expectant looks. Feng Wu had been doing all the work on their way up, and the rest of them only had to follow her around. The dark element. Feng Wu scratched her head. She didn't know where to begin. Just then, Jun Linyan stepped out. He glanced at the others and gloated. The dark element, isn't it? This undead assassin team may look terrifying, but once they're purified, they're nothing. With that, he flipped his sleeve. A finger-long porcelain bottle was tossed into the air. It hung in the air like a condescending god. Somehow, its intimidating aura reminded one of Jun Linyuan. Whoosh, 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 dots of bright white light, then disappeared into the undead assassins. Thud, thud. The team watched in amazement as the undead men fell to the ground. It happened so fast that everyone was shocked. What's in that bottle? After they successfully passed the trial, everyone looked at Jun Linyuan in astonishment. They thought that they would have to work so hard to get to the next floor because the chosen team had been working for a very long time already. But Jun Linyuan had annihilated the undead team with a wave of his hand. How amazing! Jun Linyuan gloated. I received this bottle of purifying light from the Crown Prince as a birthday gift. Well, it's all gone now. Although it's a one-off thing, it's still too powerful to be real. Duguyamo's eyes flickered. Jun Linyuan, even if he wasn't here, his light was. Of course, it's from my brother, so it has to be amazing. Jun Linyuan had been very proud of himself, but when he met Feng Wu's gaze, his stomach lurched. Oh no, he and his brother were rivals now. How could he have complimented his enemy? Jun Linyuan was about to say something when Feng Wu waved her hand. Let's go. Jun Linyuan ran to her side. Xiao Wu, please look at me. Please? Feng Wu sighed in resignation. Why would I do that? Jun Linyuan said, yes, my brother is amazing, but there are also other amazing teenagers in the world. For instance, me. Chapter 1968. Chapter 1968, Untitled. Jun Linyuan moved closer as he spoke. Feng Wu pushed him a little further and said in resignation, I don't care which one is better, you or your brother. As she spoke, she reached the 7th floor. Dumbfounded, Jun Linyuan turned to Feng Sun. What did she mean by that? Feng Sun rubbed his nose and patted Jun Linyuan on the shoulder in a manner that said, I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. He then walked past Jun Linyuan and walked toward the 7th floor. Jun Linyan was speechless. Shit. Seeing this, Feng Lu, who was in the chosen team, shrieked. The survival team has passed the 6th floor. Hearing that, everyone looked in her direction. Oh my God, Sapphiro yelled. I can't believe it. It's not possible. Am I seeing things? The survival team over there has their 6th light lit. They're moving toward the 7th floor. This world is insane. They were the chosen team, and they were supposed to win. They panicked. If they had only been alarmed by the survival team at first, they were now too flustered to think straight. Feng Lu was the most direct one and began to urge Ranmil. Princess, please move faster. We're going to lose. Sapphiro clenched her fists in frustration as well and complained, Sister, you're the leader of our team. Aren't you very capable? How can you let them win? Ranmil was working hard on purifying the undead assassins. But her white light wasn't potent enough, and the undead team was moving so fast that it was impossible to catch them. When she finally managed to catch one, because of what Sapphiro said, Ranmil loosened her grip for a brief moment and lost her target. Shut up. Ranmil had never been so intimidating. Sapphiro was usually scared of her, but she was anxious now. Sister, there's no time for your little temper. You told us to shut up, but what have you been doing? Don't just stand around. Since when am I standing around? Feeling aggrieved, Ranmil wanted to smack Sapphiro. But Sapphiro wasn't the only one who was watching Ranmil. There were so few dark and light mages in this world that in the chosen team, Ranmil was the only one with a light attribute. No one else could do anything. Princess Ranmil, please move faster. Even the second prince, who had been quite indifferent, sounded concerned now. If you need help, tell me, said Master Ju, who seldom ever spoke. Ranmil had always thought of herself as a calm person, but with so many pairs of eyes on her, she became agitated as well. Stop rushing me. I know we don't have much time. I'm going as fast as I can. Ranmil said impatiently. Feng Lu mumbled, Princess Ranmil is so grumpy. Chapter 1969. Chapter 1969, Untitled. Dugamingshi tugged at Feng Lu and whispered, That's why they say that you can never judge a person by their appearance. In times like this, they'll be sure to show their true self. She can pretend to be anyone she likes when everything's fine, but now, her life is hanging in the balance, so she doesn't have the energy to pretend anymore. That's why she's like this. It's her true self. Feng Lu thought, what a hypocrite. Meanwhile, break. Ranmil focused her mind and destroyed the undead team at the cost of over half of her spiritual energy. She didn't look too well herself, and her face was ghastly pale. To the next floor. Without hesitation, Ranmil rushed up the stairs. Ranmil and her team entered the 7th floor to find Feng Wu and her team there as well. The same 7th floor was open to both teams. That was to say, the difficulty level was the same. This would be the final competition. 3 suns hung above their heads, and the entire floor was brightly lit. But apart from the 2 teams, there was nothing else. The appearances of the 2 teams were in stark contrast to each other. The clothes of Ranmil and the chosen team were in tatters. They were all injured and smeared with blood. It was obvious that they had gone through some tough battles. The members of the survival team, on the other hand, were all neatly dressed and in high spirits. It was as if no battle had ever taken place. Feng Lu pointed at Dugayamo. Why aren't you injured? The chosen team had thought that since they themselves were covered with wounds, the survival team, who had much more difficult tests, should look even worse. But why did they look so casual and carefree? Seeing their wounds, Dugayamo wanted to mock them, but she still asked in a confused tone, What? Why should we be injured? Feng Lu said, Didn't you get here by passing the trials? Dugayamo said innocently, Of course. There's no other way. Feng Lu said, Then why are you unscathed? Weren't your tests difficult as hell? Dugayamo looked enlightened. Oh, that's what you meant. To tell you the truth, Feng Wu passed most of the trials for us on her own. What? Feng Wu, Everyone on the chosen team stared at Feng Wu in astonishment, Feng Lu included. Her? How's that possible? Feng Lu smirked. What makes you think she can do it? Feng Lu, you've really underestimated Feng Wu. You have no idea how awesome your sister is. Duguyamo meant it. Huh? Feng Lu wouldn't believe it. Duguyamo, I know that it was young Lord Feng who led you here. You're praising Feng Wu and insulting the young lord. Aren't you afraid that he'll be offended? What? Duguyamo found the statement idiotic. Feng Sun smiled indifferently. Miss Lu, are you mocking me? Chapter 1970. Chapter 1970, Untitled. What? All the members of the chosen team looked at Feng Sun with a frown. Feng Sun put his hands behind his back and said proudly, Our captain has always been Xiao Wu. We've been following her this whole time and arrived here without having to fight anyone. What? The chosen team was shocked. They wouldn't believe it if it came from Duguyamo, but they had to believe what Feng Sun said. Feng Wu. All eyes were on her now. How? Why? Why her? Ranmil stared at Feng Wu with cold eyes. Feng Lu made it worse when she said, That's not possible. Princess Ranmil is our captain, but we're still injured. Are you saying that Feng Wu is smarter and more powerful than a princess? Ranmil wanted to slap Feng Lu. Was she asking that on purpose? Duguyamo chuckled. Feng Wu used a strange stone on the first floor, and all the flying daggers were stuck to the wall. We won just like that. On the second floor, what Feng Wu did was even smarter. She diagnosed a tree like she would a patient. She then found the abnormal area right away. On the third floor, Duguyamo listed everything up to the seventh floor. She gloated at Feng Lu and shrugged. You see, we didn't need to fight at all. We just followed Feng Wu. Feng Lu was speechless. Sapphiro was speechless. They didn't believe it at first, but all the survival team members sounded so matter-of-fact, and it was impossible that they were all lying. Feng Lu turned to Feng Iran as her last hope. Feng Iran nodded. Feng Lu was filled with despair. She wasn't the one in the foulest mood. Ranmil was. She was the one who had been humiliated the most by the conversation, and she felt as if she had been slapped. Since she had shown her true self, she stopped pretending as well. Thus, she stared at Feng Wu with cold eyes and said grimly, I see that you're very pleased. Feng Wu glanced at Ranmil. No, I'm not. Ranmil smirked. Stop acting. You must be over the moon at the idea of defeating me. Do you really think you can win? Feng Wu shrugged. In fact, she had never thought much of Ranmil. Feng Sun stepped out and said with a frown, Princess Ranmil, you weren't like this before. Your cynicism is very unbecoming. That rendered Ranmil speechless. She wanted to retort, but realized nothing she said could make the situation better. I see that you're all having a good time. Ha ha ha. A wild voice rang out a short distance away. They looked up and saw the Ghost King, the culprit behind everything that had happened. Chapter 1971. Chapter 1971, Untitled. The Ghost King chuckled. You've arrived here at the same time. How interesting. Duguyamo yelled at him. We got here first. We were the first to arrive on the seventh floor. Feng Lu stared at Duguyamo in terror. How dare she? How dare she yell at the Ghost King like that? That man could determine their fates. She wasn't alone. The others were surprised as well. But Duguyamo didn't feel that way. After Feng Wu sweet-talked the Ghost King, it made Duguyamo think that the Ghost King wasn't all that unapproachable. As expected, the Ghost King wasn't angry. Instead, he was over the moon. So, the survival team has a great chance of winning this time. Good. How interesting. The members of the chosen team all paled. By the sound of it, the Ghost King wanted the survival team to win. How? Ranmil clenched her fist so tightly that her long nails dug into her palms. May I ask how we're going to pass this test? Feng Wu frowned. Time was very precious, and she didn't want to waste it on arguing with other people. If the others knew what she was thinking, they would lose their minds. How could anyone think that speaking to the Ghost King was a waste of their time? Other people might not be able to see Feng Wu's impatience, but the Ghost King could. This girl. He rolled his eyes at Feng Wu and asked, "Are you that eager to take the test now? Do you not know that the test on this floor will be very disadvantageous to you?" Feng Wu said calmly, "Ever since these trials started, things have always been disadvantageous for the survival team." The Ghost King realized that she was telling the truth. The survival team was the abandoned team, and its members had to fight for their lives. But under Feng Wu's leadership, the team reached the 7th floor first, which shocked the Ghost King. "You're very persuasive, and you've convinced me. Now, I'm going to announce the test on this floor." The Ghost King waved his hand, and a round ball of light appeared. "Holy light ball," Ramil cried out, pleasantly surprised. It contained endless holy light, which was what all cultivators of the light attribute, such as Ranmil, longed for. The Ghost King glanced at Feng Wu. "The rule is very simple. After the ball is opened, the one who collects more holy light wins." It was a very straightforward competition. Wow, the chosen team was elated because it would be so easy for them. Ramil would surely win this match. That's not fair. On Feng Wu's side, everyone protested. Ranmil is of the light attribute. That's a biased competition. Duguyamo wouldn't accept it. Feng Lu said, "The 7th floor is a test on the light element. Why should we care what attribute Feng Wu is? Princess Ranmil was born with the light attribute. So what?" Chapter 1972, Untitled. Chapter 1972, Untitled. Seeing that Duguyamo and Feng Lu were about to break into a fight, the Ghost King cleared his throat. Everyone fell silent, and no one dared to utter a word. "If you can get through this trial, I'll acknowledge your victory." The Ghost King gave Feng Wu a stern look. Duguyamo said, "But..." The Ghost King stared at Feng Wu with cold eyes. "I should be stricter with a genius like you, don't you think?" "A genius like her?" Ramil's face turned livid. If Feng Wu was a genius, what about her? "A fool!" Ramil clenched her fists. This time, she had to beat Feng Wu fair and square. Without another word, the Ghost King flipped his sleeve, and the holy light ball rose. Then it exploded. Whoosh! After that, holy light spilled out and sifted down like big snowflakes. Ramil seemed pleased. She sat down cross-legged and cupped her hands. Her palms seemed to have a suction power, and the dots of light quickly flew toward her, like rivers flowing into the sea. Soon, she had gathered more than half of the light from the ball. The chosen team became so excited that their cheeks flushed. If they hadn't been worried about disturbing Ranmil, they would have yelled her name in excitement. Feng Wu, on the other hand, she sat right opposite Ranmil. The two of them seemed to be sitting on opposite sides of a Bagua diagram. While Ranmil had gathered a lot of light, Feng Wu, she only had a few dots, so few that one could count them on both hands. The survival team grew anxious, especially Duguyamo, who was so anxious that she almost jumped to her feet. Why is this happening? Why does Feng Wu have so few dots of light? Duguyamo had counted the dots, and there were only 9 of them. Is Feng Wu really not as good as Princess Ramil? Are all our efforts for nothing? Are we really going to lose? Feng Sun clenched his fists. "Don't worry. Xiao Wu is very good at turning things around. I'm sure she has more tricks up her sleeves." Yes, she must have. Duguyamo tried to convince herself. But as time went by, she only became more perturbed. That was because some more holy light gathered around Ramil, but Feng Wu still only had 9 dots. The number of light dots wasn't infinite, and Duguyamo estimated there were 1,000,000 of them. Right now, Ramil had at least 60% of that. Duguyamo was filled with despair. Her face went pale, and she dropped to the ground. "We've already lost." They had been so confident, but the blow came so soon. Duguyamo wasn't the only one who felt that way. Feng Sun looked baffled as well. The others looked stunned, too. Why was this happening? How could they lose? How? The entire survival team had lost hope. Compared with them, the chosen team Chapter 1973, Unreasonable. Chapter 1973, Unreasonable. Meanwhile, the members of the chosen team were all glowing with excitement. What was the point in continuing with the match? They knew how it was going to end. It was like an election with 100 voters. If 60 of them had already voted for the same person, the election was over because the winner was determined. Ha ha ha. Princess Ranmil has won. I knew it. I knew we would win in the end. Feng Wu was able to pass the first few trials simply because she was lucky. Now that real capability is required, she can't handle it anymore. How on earth did she think she could compete against Princess Ranmil? The other team heard all their jeers. Feng Sun clenched his fists in frustration, but what could he say? Could he say that they were wrong? It was obvious that his team was bound to lose. Feng Lu gloated and asked De Guillermo, "Weren't you so proud of your team? Didn't you admire Feng Wu so much? She's going to get all of you killed now. How do you feel about that?" De Guillermo clenched her fists and frowned. The Ghost King liked playing games so much. Both the chosen team and the survival team were pawns to him. That meant that he could play with them however he wanted. Hence, he grinned and turned to the survival team. "Actually, you don't have to die." "What?" Everyone's eyes widened. The Ghost King said teasingly, "I'll give you one more chance to make a choice." "What choice?" Everyone looked at him. The Ghost King gloated. "It's rather simple. You now have a chance to choose your team again." Hearing that, wow, everyone was excited. What did that mean? Members of both teams stared at the Ghost King, afraid that he was just joking. Feng Sang was the most excited one. She cried out, "Really? Are you saying that if I want to join the chosen team now, I can?" The Ghost King was unfathomably powerful. He glanced at Feng Sang, and she felt as if she was frozen on the spot. His eyes were so frightening. She stood motionless and so stiff that she forgot how to breathe. The Ghost King burst out laughing the next moment. "That's right. Everyone can choose their team freely now, and both teams can have as many members as they want." That was to say, if everyone wanted to be on the chosen team, they could. But only the captains can't change sides. The Ghost King smiled when he saw the look on Feng Sun's face change. Feng Sun had really considered the option just then. "Why can't the captains choose?" Feng Sun snapped. The Ghost King seemed to enjoy his frustration and said matter-of-factly, "This is my territory. That's why." "You're being unreasonable." Feng Sun lost his temper. The Ghost King raised his chin. "Yes, I am. I'm willful like that. So what?" Chapter 1974, Untitled. Chapter 1974, Untitled. Feng Sun said, "So I don't like it." The Ghost King said, "Live with it." Feng Sun was rendered speechless. The Ghost King seemed to enjoy teasing him. He laughed even louder when he saw how frustrated Feng Sun was. Feng Sun wanted to curse the Ghost King. That was unbelievable. "You only have 1 minute. Starting from now." The Ghost King enjoyed the feeling of controlling other people's lives. Feng Yiran and Feng Sang looked at each other and immediately jumped to the other side. So, Feng Wu's team only had 5 people left, which were herself, Feng Sun, Xin Yi, Jun Linyun, and De Guillermo. De Guillermo was still hesitating. Feng Sun went to Feng Wu's side and whispered, "Let me be the captain." Feng Wu didn't reply. Feng Sun repeated, "I'll be the captain. You go to the other team." But Feng Wu shook her head. "No." "Xiao Wu." Feng Sun grew anxious. "Do you want to live or not?" "I'm not going to lose." Feng Wu was slowly gathering the dots of light. "I won't." She wouldn't? Ranmil had gathered almost all the light. What was she thinking? Meanwhile, Ranmil was smiling. By then, she had gathered quite a lot of holy light, which she had fused into a ball that she held with both hands. Her hands were as translucent as white jade. The ball of light looked even brighter in her hands. No one could change the result of the match now. Feng Lu laughed at De Guillermo. "If you wait any longer, you'll die." De Guillermo looked at Feng Sun. Feng Sun shook his head. "I'm staying with Feng Wu." Xian Yi crossed his arms. "Me too." Jun Linyun said solemnly. I'm not leaving my goddess. Ranmil looked up at the three handsome teenagers, and something grim flickered in her eyes. Why was this happening? She was certainly going to win, but these people still wouldn't choose her. It seemed that they wouldn't give up hope until they were at the end of their rope. At that thought, Ranmil smirked. She rose to her feet and marched toward the marble table in the center of the hall with the light ball in her hands. Ranmil is going to put the ball in. Feng Sun cried out. Everyone knew that the moment she put the ball down, the game was over. 3, 2, 1. Doogie Yamo clenched her fists. In the end, she still didn't go to Ranmil's team. It wasn't that she wasn't afraid of death. She just thought that Feng Wu wouldn't disappoint her. But now, there was no hope left. However, in the split second before Ranmil put the resplendent ball onto the marble table, rumble. Something seemed to explode. A beam of golden light shone upon Feng Wu. And that light, isn't that the metal element we found on the first floor? Feng Wu defeated it, and Little Phoenix absorbed the essence of fire. Feng Sun cried out. Right now, the essence of fire floated above Feng Wu's head like a little rainbow. The others were all bewildered. Rumble. Just then, there was another explosive sound. Chapter 1975, Untitled. Chapter 1975, Untitled. That's the wood element. It's the essence of the Tai wood. Feng Sun cried out. I didn't expect to see it here. Why did it come out now, then? No one knew why the pure wood element would show up now, nor did they know what it could be used for. Right at that moment, the elements of water, fire, earth, and darkness all rose above Feng Wu's head in layers. The others all gave Feng Wu strange looks and wondered what was happening. If there's the light element, she'll have all of them. Feng Sun shouted. As for things like the ice element, they were only variations of the fundamental ones. Of the 7 major elements, only light is missing. What's going on? Why are all the elements flying over Feng Wu's head? I have a very bad feeling about this. They were all very curious about the rainbow of elements above Feng Wu's head as they made guesses. Ranmil was about to put the ball of light on the table, but it suddenly escaped her hands and flew toward Feng Wu. OMG! Someone cried out. Everyone drew in their breaths after that, because the ball of holy light left Ranmil's hands like a shooting arrow. It then joined a rainbow above Feng Wu's head before anyone realized it. The first layer was the golden metal element. The second layer was the blue water element. The third layer. All 7 layers had bright, vivid colors. Everyone, they all stared at the rainbow over Feng Wu's head in astonishment. Ranmil was the most astonished of them all. She looked down at her fair hands, which had been holding something that could lead to her victory a moment ago, but were now empty. There was nothing. The others were all looking at Feng Wu at first, but because the rainbow was fusing at a very slow pace, they turned to look at Ranmil instead. Princess Ranmil. Feng Lu was the first to notice. She cried out, "Where's your ball of light?" They all realized that Ranmil's ball was above Feng Wu's head now. Feng Lu wanted to know what would happen to Ranmil. Ranmil finally woke up from the initial shock. What should she do now? Of course, she had to take the ball back. Otherwise, her team would lose. At that thought, Ranmil bent her fingers until her hands looked like claws. She then charged at Feng Wu at a terrifying speed. "Give it back to me." Ranmil smashed down at Feng Wu's head. "Stop!" Feng Sun, Xin Yi, and Jun Linyan stepped out to stop her. However, before they could do anything, thump! There was a loud bang. Poor Ranmil. She smashed into an invisible shield and was bounced back. Everyone watched as she flew backward until her back smashed into the wall. Chapter 1976, All Element Mage. Chapter 1976, All Element Mage. Everyone was dumbfounded. What happened? How did the situation suddenly turn around? A moment ago, Ranmil was so sure that she was going to win, but why had she been defeated now? Had Feng Wu's luck turned around? What on earth did she do? How'd she do it? No one knew how to answer those questions. Ranmil was so angry that her face twisted. She felt as if she was going to explode. Feng Wu, on the other hand, she sat there the whole time without moving a muscle. In the end, all the holy light flew to her side. Ranmil looked at the Ghost King. She tried to suppress her rage, but her voice was still trembling a little. Your Grace, what's going on? She wanted to whine and plead, but the Ghost King didn't even look at her. He only gave her a wave, telling her to shut up. Ranmil didn't know what to say. The Ghost King was amazed, because what was going on was beyond his experience. He had never seen anything like this before. He had a feeling that things had gone out of his control. Ranmil's team members were all anxious, especially Feng Lu. She looked like an ant on a hot pan and almost jumped to her feet. Of course, the most anxious ones were Feng Yiran and Feng Sang, who had just switched sides. The brother and sister had been worried sick since Ranmil lost her ball. If their team lost, they wouldn't know what to do. Just when the chosen team thought that the worst had happened. Rumble. White light exploded above Feng Wu's head. Everyone watched in amazement as the rainbow elements slowly disappeared into Feng Wu's head. That shocked everyone. They had never seen something like that before. Could one absorb those things? Feng Wu soon absorbed the metal element and moved onto the wood element. She was of wood attribute herself and was able to absorb the second layer at a much faster pace. Time's up. Your Grace, time's up. Ranmil had a very bad feeling, so she urged the Ghost King, the heart is going to explode, and her time's up. Please make the announcement. Shut up. The Ghost King had liked Ranmil, but now he slapped her without hesitation. To other people, Ranmil was very capable, but she was nothing compared with the Ghost King. Ranmil's mouth immediately swelled up, and her lips looked like a pair of sausages. She looked ridiculous. Other people might find it hilarious, but Ranmil felt like she was going to lose her mind. She had been slapped in front of everyone. How could she face other people in the future? But the world didn't revolve around her. When the Ghost King liked her, she was special, but when someone was better than her, she was immediately abandoned. The Ghost King kept his unblinking gaze on Feng Wu as if she was a rare treasure. Chapter 1977. Feng Wu, the Greatest Genius. Chapter 1977. Feng Wu, the Greatest Genius. He couldn't bring himself to look away from her. The water element was slowly absorbed. The fire element was the easiest to absorb. The fifth layer, the sixth layer, the seventh layer. The elements of earth, darkness, and light. The rainbow of elements had been floating above Feng Wu's head like a bridge. As she gradually absorbed them, they disappeared into her body like quicksand. She absorbed them all. What does that mean? What's going on? How do we explain this? Everyone was mumbling to themselves. They all thought of a possibility, but none of them dared to say it. Someone like that couldn't exist. An all-element mage? The Ghost King was the first to cry out. He smacked his thigh. Seriously? An all-element mage? I just witnessed the creation of an all-element mage, and she wasn't born with it. Oh my God. Even a powerful Ghost King was amazed by what had happened. That was how astonishing it was. Feng Sun opened his mouth, but no words came out. Xian Yi was shocked. Jun Linyan's mouth fell open. Du Guillermo said, she couldn't even utter a coherent sentence. That's not possible. No. Feng Lu screamed and cried. How can she win? How can she absorb all the elements? How did she become an all-element mage? That was the greatest dream of all cultivators in this land. Most of the people on this continent couldn't activate their spiritual essence and had to live a hard life as the poorest of society. Only some people could gain enlightenment in one element. A handful of very well-endowed people could have two, and they were extremely rare. Hardly anyone could have 3 or 4 elements. But now, Feng Wu had had an enlightenment in all 7 elements, and had become the only all-element mage in the Junwu Empire. It didn't take a genius to know that with such talent, even if she stopped cultivating now, she would rise to the spiritual king level and become a powerful leader one day. All forces would compete against one another to have her on their side, because her future would be so promising. That was why Ranmil had been so jealous. Feng Wu, I'll make you my official wife. Will you marry me? The second prince reacted quickly and proposed to Feng Wu. Everyone would want such a rare treasure. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at him and wondered if he had lost his mind. But before she could say anything, the Ghost King said coldly, Feng Wu, would you like to become my only disciple? Oh no, the Ghost King's only disciple. What did that mean? That meant that she would be able to inherit all the treasures the Ghost King had. If you want anything in this place, I'll find it for you, even if it's the seed of the spirit source. The Ghost King's gaze was very intense. Yeah. Everyone, especially the members of the chosen team, became agitated when they heard that. They envied Feng Wu so much that their eyes popped. Chapter 1978. Chapter 1978, Untitled. The Ghost King had made such a promise. He would find her whatever she needed in this place, even if it was the seed of the spirit source. And his only request was to become her teacher. Gosh, why would anyone say no to such a generous offer? Rammel's face twisted with jealousy, and she stared at Feng Wu. How could someone be so lucky? Was she the goddess of luck? Right now, all eyes were on Feng Wu. They were looking forward to her answer and were jealous of her at the same time. Only those who had experienced all these things would understand. At that critical moment, wait, they heard a cold voice. Someone came out of nowhere and showed up in the hall. Master C. Basie. The gaunt man wore a kasaya, and his eyes brimmed with radiant vigor. It was none other than Master C. Basie, the master teacher of the Senal Grassland. Master C. Basie. Both the proud Ranmil and the aloof Master Ju revered Master C. Basie and wanted to become his disciple. Master Ju's greatest hope was to be Master C. Basie's disciple. Therefore, he was thrilled to see Master C. Basie arrive. But as soon as the master spoke, Master Ju lost all hope. Kiddo, crossing his hands behind his back, Master C. Basie looked at Feng Wu. My terms from earlier still hold. Feng Wu frowned. You mean about becoming my disciple? Master C. Basie was always a serious man, but he smiled a little when he looked at Feng Wu. Wow. Everyone was shocked again. The master teacher was known to be the most capable man on the Senal Grassland and was one of the top cultivators on the entire continent. What did he just say? I asked you to become my disciple, and I'm still waiting for your reply, Master C. Basie said indifferently. He then turned to the Ghost King. I'm afraid that the black-robed Ghost King will have to wait. Master C. Basie was in charge of all the tombs here. Strictly speaking, the black-robed Ghost King was half a rank lower than he was. There was nothing the Ghost King could say when Master C. Basie spoke. He stared at Master C. Basie and smirked. Master, are you going to steal my disciple away? Master C. Basie said proudly. I found her first. The black-robed Ghost King pointed at Feng Wu. But she only became an all-element mage under my training. Master C. Basie said, I asked her to become my disciple before she became an all-element mage. The black-robed Ghost King was astonished. The Ghost King was a willful and defiant person in front of other people, but he was so frustrated by what Master C. Basie said. The others watched in amazement as the two top cultivators bickered. As it turned out, these top cultivators would bicker as well. As it turned out, the mighty bosses could get irritated as well. An unapproachable figure like the master teacher would quarrel with someone over a disciple. Chapter 1979, Untitled. Chapter 1979, Untitled. That was how badly the master teacher wanted this disciple. He had wanted to take Feng Wu in before she became an all-element mage. Everyone was dumbfounded. They all looked at one another in bewilderment. Why was Feng Wu so lucky? Feng Wu, which master will you choose? Dugayamo tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve, feeling curious and envious. She could never have imagined ever becoming the disciple of either master. She would be thrilled to even just be noticed by them. Both masters are on a similar level as the master of the Firmament Palace. Feng Sun whispered to Feng Wu. Feng Wu had been about to become a member of the Firmament Palace back then, but Zhui Qingwan ended up taking her place. The old master of the Firmament Palace was as famous as Master Si Basi here. Feng Wu nodded. Everyone was curious about which one Feng Wu would choose, but her answer surprised them all. Thank you, Your Grace, for choosing me, but I've already made my choice. Sorry. The Ghost King's pupils contracted. He then stared at Feng Wu and said, You're such a snobbish girl. I don't like you anymore. He then turned to glare at Si Basi. You stole my disciple, you awful old man. I bet you're so happy now after finding your successor. You owe me one. Remember that. The Ghost King only felt better after he bellowed at the other two people. Master Si Basi was over the moon. He was about to say something to Feng Wu, but Feng Wu gave him a bow and said, Master Teacher, thank you for your great offer, but I've chosen someone else already. I'm very sorry. What? Master Teacher Si Basi's smile stiffened, and he looked like he had been struck by lightning. Being the most capable man on the grassland, he had never been told that before. The Ghost King was surprised at first, but immediately. Ha 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 ha. Oh my God, this is hilarious. Ha ha ha. The Ghost King guffawed. He laughed so hard that he almost convulsed. That was the funniest thing he had ever heard. She refused you. Si Basi, you old bastard. I bet you didn't see that coming. The Ghost King put a hand on the wall to support himself and laughed so hard that he could barely breathe. Master Si Basi couldn't care less about the black-robed Ghost King's mocking now. His attention was all on Feng Wu. Kid, may I ask who's the person you chose? He stared at Feng Wu, unable to believe that she could find a more impressive master. Feng Wu remained silent. The Ghost King also stared at Feng Wu and asked coldly, Kid, if you don't tell us, you're lying. Do you know the consequences of that? Master Si Basi kept his gaze on Feng Wu. So, was that just an excuse? Master Zhu and Ran Mill looked at each other, and both saw jealousy in each other's eyes. They both wanted to become disciples of Master Si Basi, but the master turned both of them down. On the other hand, Master Si Basi was practically begging Feng Wu to become his disciple, and while she had turned him down, he wouldn't stop asking her the reason. That almost looked pathetic. The master was the most capable man on the grassland, the handler of the seed of the spirit source, and one of the top cultivators on this continent. Seeing the sincere look in Si Basi's eyes, Feng Wu shook her head. It's not an excuse. Si Basi saw that Feng Wu was holding something back, so he waved his hand and created a barrier around himself, Feng Wu, and the Ghost King. You can tell us now. He stared at Feng Wu. Before Feng Wu could speak, Little Phoenix jumped out of her ring space. Stop it. See, I see that you've been doing well. Are you trying to take Xiao Wu away now? Chapter 1980. Chapter 1980, Untitled. See, Master Si Basi couldn't believe that someone would address him that way. He had never expected to hear that in his entire life. When he looked up and saw the proud little bird. Who are you? Little Phoenix crossed its wings and rolled its eyes at Si Basi. How impressive. You don't even recognize me now, do you? The black-robed Ghost King gave the chattering bird a strange look. The bird seemed so weak that he could easily smash it to a pulp, but was bold enough to talk to Master Si Basi that way. The old man was even stronger than the Ghost King. Master Si Basi was very cautious. After some thought, he was struck by an idea. You? Are you him? Him? The black-robed Ghost King stared at the bird curiously. Who? Who is this bird? But Master Si Basi was too excited to finish his sentence. How is that even possible? How? Are you? You can't be. Are you Master Phoenix? Si Basi stared at the bird in disbelief. Am I right? Is that really you? Master Si Basi was such an important figure on the continent, but now he was so excited that he stuttered. Oomph. Master Phoenix raised his chin. I see that you haven't forgotten the meal I offered you. A long, long time ago, Master Phoenix had been Mu Jiuzhou's ride. Back then, he had traveled the world with Master Mu Jiuzhou and met all kinds of people. Si Baisi was just one of them. He had been a starving young monk back then. Mu Jiuzhou gave him a meal and taught him a few moves. Back in the day, wherever Mu Jiuzhou went, well, to call him invincible would be an understatement. No, of course I didn't forget. Master Si Baisi was used to being revered, but in front of the little bird, he spoke with a half bow and showed the bird every ounce of respect. Seeing the phoenix was the same as seeing Mu Jiuzhou. Master Si Baisi looked up and saw the black-robed ghost king. His face darkened. With a flip of his sleeve, he said, "Leave us." Thump! The black-robed ghost king, who was so domineering around other people, was immediately thrown out of the confined space. He only realized what had happened when he stumbled back a few steps. He had been so easily thrown out because he was distracted. He had been searching his memory for some information. Unlike the White Fairy and Master Si Baisi, he hadn't met Mu Jiuzhou or the bird before, but that didn't mean that he hadn't heard of those names. Master Phoenix. Master Phoenix. Where have I heard that name before? He smacked his head, and his eyes snapped open. It's him. OMG. What kind of world am I in? His reaction frightened the others. Everyone else gave him strange looks. Master Si Baisi's shield stopped the others from hearing anything. They saw the old man's expression change, but they couldn't hear him. They were so curious. Chapter 1981. Chapter 1981, Untitled. Dugiamo was the most curious of them all. Since the Ghost King could be reasonable at times, she asked tentatively, "Your Grace, what's going on with Master Si Baisi? Why is he bowing?" That was the scariest part. The most capable man on the grassland and a top cultivator on the continent was bowing to a spiritual elder girl. How humiliating was that? The others were as curious as Dugiamo was. The Ghost King looked around the room. In the end, his gaze landed on Ranmil. "Do you consider Feng Wu a rival?" Ranmil clenched her fists. What was that supposed to mean? And why was he looking at her like that? Was he suggesting that she wasn't as good as Feng Wu? The thought only enraged Ranmil even more. Fighting back her anger, she gritted her teeth and said, "Yes, Feng Wu is talented and lucky. Even Master Si Baisi is competing to become her master now." But she stood ramrod straight and stuck out her chest. "I'm as good as her. My master is Red March, a renowned cultivator on the continent. She's as good as any other great cultivator. So, your master is Red March." The Ghost King glanced at Ranmil. Ranmil said proudly, "Yes." The Ghost King asked, "Is she the Red March who fled this place after taking a hit from me and losing 30% of her power?" Ranmil didn't know what to say. The Ghost King hadn't felt so sympathetic toward Ranmil at first, but now, the look he gave her was almost pitying. "I see that you really have no idea." Ranmil had no idea what kind of terrifying patron Feng Wu, someone she looked down on, had. "Yes, I do. Master Si Baisi wants to be her master." Ranmil's eyes were filled with jealousy. The black-robed Ghost King found her even more pitiful. The look in his eyes gave Ranmil the creeps. Somehow, she felt that she was missing a very important piece of information. The black-robed Ghost King didn't plan to tell Ranmil the truth. He only patted her shoulder and said mildly, "Little princess, I would give up trying to defeat her if I were you." "Give up?" Ranmil smirked. Sapphiro interjected, "Your Grace, there's something you don't know. My sister and Feng Wu are love rivals." "Really? Is that so?" The Ghost King's demeanor changed again. This time, he looked like a curious child. Sapphiro nodded and said seriously, "One could say that there are enemies." Ranmil didn't deny it. The black-robed Ghost King turned to look at Ranmil and made an incredible remark. "You poor creature." Cough. Dugiamo almost choked on her own spit. What was the Ghost King talking about? Ranmil glared at the Ghost King. She was furious. Why did he call her a poor creature? Feng Wu was the poor one. "Oh my." The Ghost King sounded genuine when he sighed and said, "Look at you. You're not as pretty or talented as she is, and your patron is nothing compared with hers. Chapter 1982, God of War. Chapter 1982, God of War. She wasn't just inferior. She was nothing compared with Feng Wu. The Ghost King was only telling the truth, but all his words were like needles jabbing into Ranmil's ears. You're taking her side. Ranmil stomped her foot. The Ghost King found Ranmil's action idiotic and said matter-of-factly, "Of course I am. Did you think that I would choose you?" The girl had no idea that Master Phoenix was with Feng Wu, nor did she know who Master Phoenix was. The bird used to be Mu Jiuzhou's ride. The Ghost King tried to convey the sentiment with his eyes. Unfortunately, Ranmil couldn't understand. She was infuriated by the Ghost King's righteous tone. Other people would be discreet when they took sides, but the Ghost King made it sound so natural. Feng Wu had no idea how miserable the Ghost King was making Ranmil. Right now, Master C. Basie was talking excitedly with the bird. He had completely ignored Feng Wu. "Master Phoenix, is that really you? But during that war, didn't you?" "Yes, I died. But have you forgotten who my master is? He is the almighty Mu Jiuzhou. With his ability, he was able to get me reincarnated." "Huh." Little Phoenix gloated. "That's great." Master C. Basie was thrilled. "Then what about him? Is he—" Little Phoenix gave Master C. Basie a stern look and said in an intimidating tone, "Who gave you permission to ask after him?" Poor Master C. Basie. Even the Lord of the Grassland showed him great respect and feared offending him. But Little Phoenix was scolding him like he was telling off a child. But C. Basie still seemed over the moon. Feng Wu was speechless. Once again, she realized how well-respected her beautiful master used to be. Master C. Basie wanted to say something, but hesitated. Little Phoenix glanced at him and said grumpily, "If you want to say something, say it. Don't pout like that. Aren't you a powerful man of the grassland now? You're no longer the weak little monk anymore." Master C. Basie seemed to make up his mind. He looked at the bird and blurted out, "With the right timing, heaven and earth will work together." Little Phoenix smiled. "Oh, you went to Immortal Phoenix Mountain? You know the couplets on our front entrance." C. Basie's eyes lit up. "So the second part is—" The bird rolled its eyes. "My master wrote the couplets himself. Of course I know the second half. It says, when fortune is gone, a hero will be confined." Master C. Basie was elated. Finally, he had confirmed Master Phoenix's identity. "As far as I know, only a handful of people have been to our mountain. Why do you know the couplets?" Little Phoenix stared at Master C. Basie. C. Basie glanced at Feng Wu and fell silent. The bird was speechless. Mu Jiuzhou had protected Feng Wu with his own life. There was no need to keep things from her. He told the master, "She's one of us." Master C. Basie nodded. "Only someone like you is good enough to be her master. Don't worry, I won't compete with you anymore." Chapter 1983, Untitled. Chapter 1983, Untitled. The bird was speechless. The girl was its master, not the other way around. However, Mu Jiuzhou's existence needed to be kept a secret, so Little Phoenix didn't deny it and only asked, "What are you getting at? Do you know an organization called Mu's People?" C. Basie lowered his voice. "What?" The bird was confused. "What the hell is that?" Master C. Basie's face darkened. "If you don't know Mu's People, how about Flying Guillotine?" asked the master. Feng Wu really wanted to nod. She knew the name. Back then, she had hired Flying Guillotine to kill Zhuo Qinglu. Since she knew it, Little Phoenix knew as well. So the bird nodded and said, "Yes, I know it. It's a newly founded assassins organization similar to the old Guillotine Inn and assigns assassins missions." Master C. Basie said, "Master Phoenix, Guillotine and his Flying Guillotine's predecessor." The bird asked, "Wasn't Guillotine and annihilated?" Master C. Basie nodded. "After the big war, both the Great Master and you disappeared. Guillotine and was destroyed and never rebuilt. But the survivors wouldn't accept it. Therefore, we gathered some people and formed Mu's people. It's called that because we're all loyal followers of Master Mu Jiuzhou. Loyal followers? The bird was confused. Only people like me are qualified, Master C. Basie told the bird in a solemn tone. We have a careful verification process. Followers not loyal enough can't join us. Although we don't have many people, we're all capable fighters. Little Phoenix was speechless. If it hadn't recovered part of its memory, it would never have found this organization. But this Mu's people was really a pleasant surprise. Master C. Basie said, since guillotine is gone, we created flying guillotine. Feng Wu's eyes widened. What? Flying guillotine was the newer version of guillotine in the assassination organization her beautiful master created. And the so-called Mu's people were all her master's followers. The mysterious flying guillotine was only a minor organization created by Mu's people. Feng Wu felt a little dizzy and found the whole thing unreal. Who's the head of Mu's people now? Asked the bird. His third pupil, said C. Basie. Chu Tian Shao. Little Phoenix was amazed. Yes, said C. Basie. Chu Tian Shao is from a good family with high social status. He was also taught by the master himself. Under his leadership, Mu's people has been growing fast. Little Phoenix asked, what's your purpose? Master C. Basie gave Little Phoenix a strange look. While it seemed like the Great War was caused by invading alien races, when we investigated later, we saw that it wasn't that simple. Who opened that heavenly door? Why did Master Mu Jiuzhou cough blood at the critical moment? He was already invincible back then and shouldn't have lost. Why'd he die in the war? Master C. Basie stared at Little Phoenix. You were with him back then. Tell me why. Little Phoenix was speechless. Chapter 1984, Untitled. Chapter 1984, Untitled. Master C. Basie tried very hard to convince the bird. Mu's people want to find out the truth. We want to find the mole from Master Mu Jiuzhou. We want to unite all 7 kingdoms. Mu's people will hand the new world to Master Mu Jiuzhou. Master C. Basie was a gone old man, but he looked like an ardent youth when he talked about Master Mu Jiuzhou. Feng Wu was astonished. She had never known that her beautiful master was admired by so many people. He had been gone for many years, but Master C. Basie, who had received nothing more than a meal from him, would do so many things for him. His followers had even created an organization to find out the truth. They also wanted to reunite the world and hand it back to him. Little Phoenix tried very hard to remember, but my head hurts. It put its wings over its head. My master sealed most of my memories, and I can't recall many things from back then. But you're right. Something wasn't right. C. Basie was sorry to hear that. He wished that the bird could remember, but the bird had revealed a piece of information. Master Mu Jiuzhou hasn't really passed away, has he? He didn't die. He's still watching over this continent that he used to rule, isn't he? In the end, Master C. Basie was almost sobbing. Mu Jiuzhou was his idol and the guidance of his life. Little Phoenix and Feng Wu looked at each other. Feng Wu would be lying if she said that she wasn't moved. She had no idea that her beautiful master's followers could be so loyal. Yes, he's not dead, but he's not alive either, said Little Phoenix. It gave Feng Wu a warning look. If she told C. Basie that Mu Jiuzhou had gone into a coma in order to save her, Master C. Basie would probably kill her. Feng Wu said, Master C. Basie burst into tears when he heard that Mu Jiuzhou wasn't dead. He cried so hard. The people outside the barrier watched with open mouths. Stop it. He was the master teacher and the most capable man on the grassland, but he was crying so hard just because Feng Wu refused to be his disciple. That was so. Feng Sun couldn't believe his eyes. Didn't they say that Master Teacher C. Basie is an indifferent and taciturn man? The old man seemed so emotional now. Jun Linya nodded. That's right. We met him outside this place before. Back then, my father and the chieftain of the grassland both showed him great respect, but he was so arrogant. However, the arrogant master teacher was crying his eyes out now. His shoulders were also shaking. Everyone watched in embarrassment and didn't know what to do. Seeing how agitated Si Basie was, Feng Wu also felt awkward. Please calm down. Si Basie nodded. I will. Master Mu Jiuzhou is still alive. That's so great. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. When Si Basie finally managed to calm down, he looked at the bird in excitement. I'm going to tell Mu's people news. They'll all be thrilled. Chapter 1985, Untitled. Chapter 1985, Untitled. Seeing that Si Basie was as excited as a reckless teenager, Feng Wu intervened. Stop. Si Basie frowned at her. Feng Wu said, First of all, the master has almost as many enemies as followers. If word gets out and the enemy finds out about it, his cultivation will be affected. Who's going to be responsible for that? Secondly, he's not fully recovered yet and doesn't want to see other people. He may not like the noise you'll make. Moreover, can you guarantee that there's no mole in Mu's people? Finally, I suggest keeping it a secret for now. After he comes out of his seclusion, we'll see if he wants to meet you or has other instructions. Feng Wu's analysis was reasonable and clear, and Master Si Basie nodded repeatedly. Yes, that's what we should do. Master Phoenix, your disciple. Before Si Basie could finish, Little Phoenix gave him a strange look. Do you still think that she's my disciple? Si Basie said, What? Little Phoenix said, Don't you think that she's more clever than me? Si Basie said, Huh? Little Phoenix said, Have you seen a disciple that has more opinions than the master? Si Basie cleared his throat. Little Phoenix said, Don't you realize that I've been listening to her? Si Basie's eyes widened in astonishment. He then stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. Little Phoenix rolled its eyes. Don't be ridiculous. Even if my master was reincarnated, he wouldn't be a girl. Si Basie cleared his throat. Si Basie had thought that way because Mu Jiuzhou was the only person he could think of that had all of Feng Wu's talents. You can see the girl as the voice of my master. Her words are the same as my master's, Little Phoenix said solemnly. Master Si Basie was astonished. This little girl, he then recalled her amazing talents. Her master is... Little Phoenix nodded. That's right. Master Si Basie was too shocked to speak. His eyes were wide and his mouth fell open. He smacked his own head. Gosh, what had he done? He had tried to steal Master Mu Jiuzhou's disciple. That was insane. It's all my fault. Si Basie hadn't apologized to anyone since he became famous. But now, he was apologizing repeatedly, afraid of offending his idol. Feng Wu smiled. Master Teacher Si, you flatter me. Si Basie smiled bitterly and felt so embarrassed. Just then, he frowned. Someone is trying to break the formation. Go handle it. Please don't tell anyone else about my master, Feng Wu said solemnly. Si Basie nodded. Before he left, he whispered something in Feng Wu's ear. Little Phoenix asked curiously, What did Si say? Si. Feng Wu rubbed Little Phoenix's head. He's a great man of the grassland. You make him sound like a boy. Oomph. When I met him with my master back then, he was just a little boy. He was thrilled when I called him Si because it showed how close we were. Little Phoenix gloated. He was so lucky to have met me. Chapter 1986. Chapter 1986, Untitled. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. To avoid unnecessary trouble, Feng Wu warned Little Phoenix, I don't care what you call him in private. In front of other people, you need to address him properly. Little Phoenix said impatiently, Fine. By the way, what did he just whisper to you? Feng Wu cleared her throat. Ahem. It was nothing. He just told me to check out the basement of Universe Hall when I had the time. Wow. Little Phoenix opened its eyes wide and flapped its wings excitedly. I knew it. I knew that he would be on your side. He can't explicitly tell you that there's something good underground because that would violate the rules, but he had to make sure that you would find it. That meal I gave him didn't go to waste. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. The barrier disappeared and Feng Wu came out. As soon as she showed up, the people outside gave her strange looks. Especially Ranmil, who looked like she was about to eat someone. Master Ju, who already hated Feng Wu, was filled with jealousy. Xiao Wu, you're out. Feng Sun took her aside and asked, Did you say yes? Feng Wu asked, To what? Feng Sun said, Did you agree to become Master Si Basi's pupil? Listen, as amazing as he is, he's not from the Junwu Empire. I'm worried that His Majesty will give you trouble for that. Feng Wu nodded. I know. That's why I turned him down. It felt so good to blame it on Emperor Wu. What? Feng Sun was shocked. You turned him down? You really said no to Master Si Basi? Xiao Wu you. One would need a lot of courage to do that. Master Si Basi was. It's not the end of the world if you say yes. Maybe you'll have some chance of defeating Zhuo Qinghuan if you become his disciple. Feng Sun mumbled. Little Phoenix rolled its eyes in resignation. It found Feng Sun so short-sighted. Si Basi wasn't good enough to be Feng Wu's master. Feng Wu waved him off. It's a done deal. Forget about it. After that, she walked up to the Ghost King. The Ghost King looked her up and down and felt very lucky. How silly he was before. He had almost missed such a talented girl and had put her into the survival team. If she hadn't been so outstanding and become an all-element mage in the end, it would have been the biggest regret of his life. At that thought, he wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. Feng Wu didn't know what he was thinking and asked directly, which team won the game? The survival team or the chosen team? It was the million-dollar question. This moment was what everyone had been waiting for. All eyes were on the Ghost King. Ranmil clenched her fists. Although the holy light ball ended up going to Feng Wu, she was the first to have it, so she might not lose. They were waiting for the Ghost King's verdict. Hanging on to their last thread of hope, members of the chosen team gave the Ghost King pleading looks. The survival team was eager to know the result as well. However, the Ghost King rolled his eyes at Ranmil. What? Do you seriously think you will win? Stop lying to yourself. It won't change the outcome. Chapter 1987. Chapter 1987, Untitled. Ranmil didn't know what to say. She was so embarrassed that she wished the ground would open up so that she could jump in. The Ghost King turned around and smiled obsequiously at Feng Wu. Miss Wu, isn't it obvious? You become an all-element mage now. Of course, the survival team is the winner. That was strange. No one here were fools, and they immediately noticed the change in the Ghost King's attitude. They almost couldn't believe their eyes, but it felt as if the Ghost King was fawning on Feng Wu. The Ghost King didn't blink an eye when he yelled at Master Teacher Si Basi, but why was he so cautious around Feng Wu? He looked like a subordinate greeting his princess. Feng Wu said, So, my team really is the winner. The Ghost King said, Of course. Wow. Feng Wu's team members all cheered loudly. OMG. Holy crap. We won. We actually won. Duguyamo was so excited that she murmured to herself, I made no contribution whatsoever, and we won, just like that. The chosen team was filled with despair as they stared at Duguyamo. Duguyamo turned to them and said, You all fought so hard from the first to the 7th floor, but you lost. You had normal mode, but you lost to us, who had hell mode. The chosen team was speechless. Duguyamo said, That's why you should be very careful when picking sides. How unlucky. Some of you could be as lucky as I am, but Feng Lu felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. So did Feng Yiran and Feng Sang, who had changed sides at the last minute. Feng Wu looked at the Ghost King and asked, When can we proceed? The Ghost King was very obliging now. Whenever you want. Feng Wu said, Then I want to do so now. The Ghost King nodded. With a wave of his hand, 4 black-robed ghost generals appeared. From their muscular arms, one could tell that they were tall, strong, and intimidating. As soon as they appeared, they headed for the chosen team. What are you doing? Sapphiro finally began to panic. The 4 generals surrounded them and pushed them toward the door. Hey, stop it. What are you doing? Let go of me. No matter how loudly Sapphiro and Feng Lu cried, the 4 ghost generals remained solemn and unaffected. Once the door opened, they saw a bottomless chasm on the other side. Ark, Sapphiro screamed. Don't push me in. I don't want to die. Help. Please don't do this. No. Anyone would panic when they were about to be pushed off a cliff. Sapphiro and Feng Lu were scared out of their wits. Even Ramil was trembling. Chapter 1988. Chapter 1988. Payment 1. Sapphiro and Feng Lu were scared out of their wits. Even Ramil was trembling. Were they really going to die? Ramil was genuinely scared when she saw the bottomless pit on the other side of the door. Instinctively, she clenched her fists and pursed her lips. Throw them over the cliff. The Ghost King put his hands behind his back and spoke indifferently. They were only lambs to him. The 4 ghost generals would do whatever he said and immediately began to execute the order. Go! They pushed the chosen team toward the edge of the cliff. They were only a step away from falling into the abyss. Sapphiro, Feng Lu, and Feng Sang were all screaming and didn't know what to do. The second prince knew that if he didn't speak up now, they really were going to die. Stop! The second prince yelled. The Ghost King glanced at him. The second prince said hurriedly, What price do I have to pay for you to spare my life? I don't want to die. Can I buy my freedom? I'm the second prince of the Junwu Empire, and I have a lot of money. Feng Wu, how much do you want? The second prince stared at Feng Wu with twinkling eyes. He wanted to live. Seeing that they were about to be pushed over the edge, Feng Wu smiled and said, Wait. Right now, the Ghost King would do whatever Feng Wu said. Do you want to pay for your life? She asked indifferently. The second prince nodded. Yes. Name your price. Feng Wu smiled. You name it. The second prince said. What? Well, how about a restaurant? I have a restaurant on Vermilion Bird Street. Feng Wu crossed her arms and smiled at him. Is that what your life is worth? A restaurant? The second prince said. Well. Feng Wu smiled and raised her hand. Wait, the second prince shrieked. How about this sky-breaking saber? It's my favorite weapon, and it's now yours. And this heavenly heart dagger. Here's a land deed for 100 acres of fine spiritual farmland in the eastern suburb. The second prince watched Feng Wu intently. That's all I have on me. Feng Wu, if you want, I can marry. Feng Wu stared at him. One more word, and I'll make you jump. The second prince said, Well. Feng Wu took the saber and nodded. It was of the same level as Fallen Star Sword. She could give it to Xiaoqi. The dagger was unbelievably sharp. Good. But Feng Wu's favorite was the spiritual farmland. With it, she would be able to grow herbs. It would be very helpful for training her medical skills. She smiled and said, Since your Royal Highness is so generous, I'll accept them. The spiritual farmland. I don't have the deed on me now. Can I give it to you when we get back to the Imperial capital? Asked the prince. If you go back on your word, what will I do then? Asked Feng Wu. I'll write you an IOU now. The second prince grabbed some pen and paper, quickly wrote an IOU, and handed it to Feng Wu. As long as he could live, a little humiliation was nothing. He could live with it. Chapter 1989. Chapter 1989. Payment 2. Feng Wu put away the IOU, nodded, and waved at the second prince. You can stay up here. And my sister. Feng Wu glanced at Jun Wuxia, who was still unconscious. Jun Wuxia had seen Feng Wu kill Zhuo Qingyu. She wouldn't mind if the princess died. Feng Wu smiled. The princess's life is about as valuable as yours. You can take her away if you can pay the same price. That was very expensive. The second prince stared at Feng Wu. Aren't you worried that the royal family will make you pay for this one day? Feng Wu smiled. How about I give everything back to you and let you die? The second prince stomped his foot in frustration. He was the second prince of the empire and the son of Empress Dugu. But now he was threatened by a nobody. How unbelievable. But with the current situation, he had no choice but to accept the terms. He then wrote another IOU for Feng Wu. Seeing all the zeros on the note, Feng Wu smiled. Getting rich in this unconventional way was so much faster. You can go. She let them go. The second prince didn't like her arrogant manner, but he didn't dare say anything. There were 7 people in the chosen team, with the prince and princess gone. Feng Wu crossed her arms and smiled at the remaining 5 people. She then started counting down with her fingers. 5, 4, 3, 2. I'll pay you. I'll pay for my life. Dugu Mengshi stepped out. Hence, the third son of the Dugu family gave all his valuable belongings to Feng Wu, as well as a big IOU. Feng Wu, I mean sister, Feng Lu hesitated before she inched toward Feng Wu and forced a smile. We're sisters, aren't we? I know I've. Feng Wu silenced her with a wave of her hand. She then glanced at Feng Lu and said, I'm a fair person. Feng Lu is talentless and stupid. She isn't worth much. Despite the insult, Feng Lu was glad to hear it. She looked at Dugu Mengshi. Dugu Mengshi nodded solemnly. Don't worry. I'll pay the ransom for you. Feng Lu nodded happily. But she didn't stay happy for much longer. Feng Wu smirked and said, but she has the worst disposition, which annoys me. So, you'll have to pay 10 times the original price. 10 times? Feng Wu, you're insane. Feng Lu glared at her. Feng Wu smiled at her before winking at the ghost generals. The ghost generals immediately took a step forward. Arg! Feng Lu let out an ear-splitting scream. Stop it! Leave me alone! Feng Lu stared at Feng Wu as she screamed, but she didn't dare to utter any threatening words. She turned to Dugu Mengshi for help. Dugu Mengshi felt conflicted. He had no problem with paying the original price, but 10 times. That was more than what the second prince had paid. How was he ever going to pay that back? Dugu Yamo tugged at Dugu Mengshi and said quietly, there are so many beautiful women out there. You can always find someone else. Dugu Mengshi clenched his fists and paled. Chapter 1990. Chapter 1990. Is Feng Lu dead? Mengshi, help me. Mengshi, please help me. Panic-stricken, Feng Lu shouted at the top of her lungs. Dugu Mengshi was struggling. Several times, he wanted to say yes, but where are you going to get the money? Dugu Yamo stared at Dugu Mengshi. How are you going to pay the price equal to 100 acres of spiritual farmland? Dugu Mengshi was almost in tears. Feng Wu smiled at Feng Lu. I'm sorry, but you're going down. Feng Lu, this is your fate. Had Dugu Mengshi really given her up? Feng Lu was filled with despair. But soon, she found hope again. No, you won't do it. She stared at Feng Wu and shook her head. I'm still your cousin. How can you kill me? If you do, how are you going to face my father and our grandmother? What about the members of the Feng clan? That's why you won't throw me down there, right? Right. Feng Lu stared at Feng Wu, looking scared but certain. She wasn't alone. In fact, everyone else was giving Feng Wu suspicious looks as well. Feng Wu and Feng Lu's fathers were brothers. No matter how big a feud there was between them, Feng Wu couldn't make Feng Lu jump unless she didn't care about her reputation anymore. Everyone, including Feng Lu, thought that way. Therefore, Feng Lu begged Feng Wu, thinking that she could talk her way out of it. Feng Lu, I've always been trying to be as fair as possible. If I let you go, what would the second prince, who paid the ransom, think? And those after you would think that they won't have to be responsible for their failure if they just cry and beg a little. Do you know how much hardship the survival team had to go through to turn things around? Do you think you're important enough for me to abandon all my principles? Since you made your choice, you have to live with the consequence. Go. Feng Wu flipped her sleeve. No, I know. Feng Lu realized with horror that things weren't going as planned. With a wave of his hand, a ghost general pushed her over the cliff. The terrified scream lasted for quite a while, and everyone was taken by surprise. They all stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. Members of both teams were shocked. Because Feng Wu and Feng Lu were cousins, they all thought that Feng Wu would spare Feng Lu in the end. Even if Feng Wu had to kill Feng Lu, they thought that she would do it in secret rather than kill her in public. That was incredible. Feng Sang and Feng Iran watched in terror as Feng Lu was pushed over the cliff. They then looked up at Feng Wu. Hatred, rage, astonishment, horror. A mixture of emotions filled their eyes. Feng Wu, how dare you? How could you? Feng Yiran's face twitched, and he shook from head to toe. Feng Sang gritted her teeth. Coldness seemed to have frozen her to the bone, and fear felt like a dark abyss. Chapter 1991. Chapter 1991. Feng Yiran's turn. Feng Wu, how dare you? How dare you do that? Feng Yiran stared at Feng Wu, wishing that he could kill her and drain her blood. The other people looked at Feng Wu as well. They had yet to recover from a shock. Feng Wu looked at Feng Yiran and smiled. You're next. Ah, Sapphiro shrieked. Feng Wu was so terrifying. Standing there with the lower hem of her dress flapping in the wind, she looked like a nonchalant goddess who thought everyone else here were mere ants. Sapphiro, Ranmil, the second prince, and Master Ju were all ants to her. Right now, Feng Wu was such an awe-inspiring and terrifying person. Feng Yiran was dumbfounded. The four ghost generals charged at him at lightning speed, giving him no time to react. The next second, they had picked Feng Yiran up like picking up a chicken. The ghost generals had no emotions. With indifferent looks on their faces, they were going to throw Feng Yiran into the abyss. They moved quickly and efficiently, with no unnecessary moves. Feng Wu, how dare you? I'm your older brother. Feng Wu smirked. She didn't speak, but the look in her eyes convinced Feng Yiran that she would actually do it. He was scared. If Feng Lu hadn't been thrown over the cliff, he would still believe that Feng Wu wouldn't dare to kill him. However, Feng Lu had been thrown into the abyss right in front of him. What should he do? Feng Yiran panicked. The four ghost kings held him up by all his four limbs and were going to throw him over the cliff. Wait, wait. Feng Yiran really panicked. He saw that the four ghost generals would only stop on Feng Wu's say-so. Feng Wu, please. Put me down. I'll pay you. Feng Yiran was so scared that his limbs stiffened and he trembled from head to toe. Feng Wu crossed her arms and smiled at him. She had been too nice before, which had allowed Feng Yiran to live a carefree life. She was happy to see how flustered he was. I'll pay you. I have 5 properties and 3 shops. They're all yours. I'll transfer all of them to you. Feng Wu smiled coldly. 5 properties and 3 shops? Feng Yiran, is that what you think you're worth? Feng Yiran looked up and stared at Feng Wu. What do you want? Feng Wu said, my father accumulated quite a lot of wealth, and you were supposed to look after it for a while. What happened after that? You never mentioned it. Feng Yiran stared at Feng Wu. He had no idea that Feng Wu knew so much about that matter. Feng Wu smiled and was going to let the ghost generals throw him down into the abyss. Feng Yiran gritted his teeth. You were so young back then and didn't have much capability. If someone tried to trick you, Feng Wu smiled at him. So, the person I've defeated thinks that he's smarter than I am. Feng Yiran didn't know what to say. He said, fine. After we return to the Imperial capital, I'll give you all the wealth my uncle earned. Satisfied? Feng Wu said, that's mine to begin with, so of course you should give it back. Are you trying to pay your ransom with my money? Chapter 1992. Chapter 1992. Pay up, my princess. Feng Yiran gritted his teeth. Fine. Apart from your family's assets, I'll give you my herb medicine shop in the north of the Imperial city. That's the biggest shop I have. I don't have anything else to give you. Feng Wu smiled. All right, you may go. Only then did Feng Yiran sigh in relief. His forehead was covered with sweat. Since Feng Yiran had given up most of his assets, Feng Sang had to do the same. She gritted her teeth and emptied her pockets. Sapphiro also paid up. Only Master Ju and Ranmil hadn't made their decision yet. Master Ju stared at Feng Wu and was unwilling to accept reality, but he had no other choice. Because Feng Wu had pushed Feng Lu, her cousin, over the cliff. Nothing could stop her now. Therefore, Master Ju paid a lot of money for his life as well. Finally, there was only Ranmil left. She glared at Feng Wu and gritted her teeth so hard that they almost shattered. She had never been humiliated like this before. Feng Wu only smiled at her. Princess Ranmil, you're the only one left now. All eyes were on Ranmil. The chosen team she led had had all the advantages, but still lost in the end. It was the greatest humiliation for Ranmil. To make it worse, she had to ask Feng Wu to spare her life now. Her face darkened, and she bit her lower lip so hard that blood oozed out. That was how much she hated Feng Wu. That was how furious she was. What do you want? In the end, Ranmil had to accept reality and admit defeat. Feng Sun narrowed his eyes. He would be relieved if Ranmil stubbornly refused to plead for her life. But she had chosen to swallow her humiliation. Once she gained enough power, she would become a terrible enemy. Hence, he decided to keep an eye on Ranmil. What do you want? Ranmil took a deep breath and stared at Feng Wu. How much do I have to pay for my life? Feng Wu narrowed her eyes as well. She then smiled at Ranmil. As the captain of the chosen team, shouldn't you be responsible for losing the game? Ranmil clenched her fists. Feng Wu said, as the goddess of the people of the grassland, you have so many followers. Isn't your life very precious? Moreover, you're a princess. Therefore, Feng Wu grinned. You're very expensive. Ranmil gritted her teeth. Feng Wu, you're doing this on purpose. Feng Wu nodded matter-of-factly. That's right. This is a great opportunity. I would be letting it go to waste if I don't squeeze you dry. The crowd was speechless. They didn't expect Feng Wu to be so frank. Since she had said so herself, they couldn't use it against her anymore. Ranmil's chest heaved. She was furious. Feng Wu, just wait and see. One day I'm going to kill you. She screamed in her head. Feng Wu said, I know. You'd love to kill me right now, but to do that, you have to get out of here alive. Am I right? Chapter 1993. Chapter 1993, Winner's Prize. Ranmil said, Name it. Name your prize. Feng Wu smiled and said, Princess Sapphiro has given me 2/3 of her assets. As for you, I'll take the same portion of your assets as well. Ranmil glared at Feng Wu, but she had no choice but to say yes. Fine, but since you need to take the major responsibility, I think, Feng Wu smiled. You should show some sincerity, don't you think? I'm giving you 2/3 of my assets, and that's not sincere enough. You're the princess of light on this grassland. Are you going to measure your value with your assets? Feng Wu asked. Ranmil yelled, What do you want from me? Do you want to take away 2/3 of my cultivation attainments as well? Feng Wu said, Well, I think that'll do. Ranmil almost lost her mind. Feng Wu, you've gone too far. Feng Wu smiled. Well, if I were the one who lost the game, I don't think I would have been given a choice at all. Ranmil glared at Feng Wu. She wanted to say no. She wanted to slap Feng Wu. She wanted to bet that Feng Wu wouldn't dare kill her. However, she saw what happened to Feng Wu. If Feng Wu could push her own cousin off the cliff, what would she do to her? She could mention something about causing a conflict between the Junwu Empire and the grassland, but it was obvious that Feng Wu didn't care about that. Princess Ranmil, you're wasting everyone's time, said Feng Wu indifferently. You've tried to kill me in secret before. You've lost now, and you should honor the result of the game. It's time to jump. Feng Wu waved her hand, wanting to get it over with. Ranmil panicked. She had never felt so flustered in her life. Wait, she glared at Feng Wu. You really are a piece of work. She decided that she would get back at Feng Wu after they left this place. Ranmil then hit several of her meridian points. Blood trickled down from the corner of her mouth. Her spiritual essence began to disappear as the others watched. She fell from the spiritual lord stage to the spiritual elder stage and kept falling until she was only a spiritual grandmaster. Ranmil was the most promising young cultivator of the grassland, but she had just been reduced to a spiritual grandmaster. Ranmil spat out a mouthful of blood as she stared at Feng Wu. At that moment, Feng Wu became her archenemy. Feng Wu, I swear I'm going to kill you. Ranmil gritted her teeth and stressed each word. Hearing her blatant threat, Feng Wu only smiled. Sure, just like that. But when the others heard it, they felt a chill run down their spines. Before, they would laugh at Feng Wu for overestimating herself. She was just a common girl and would never be an enemy worthy of Princess Ramil. But after the survival team won the game, their attitude toward Feng Wu had changed. Their emotions were a mixture of anger, jealousy, and reverence. Someone clapped their hands. It was the black-robed Ghost King, who had been watching on the side. He smiled and said, "You're such a bold girl. Is there anything that you don't dare do?" Chapter 1994. Chapter 1994, Giving Out Prizes. "But I like you." The black robe Ghost King laughed. "So, I'm going to give you the winner's prize." "The winner's prize?" Feng Wu looked at the Ghost King in confusion. The Ghost King said matter-of-factly, "The survival team won, so shouldn't I give you a prize?" Feng Wu said, "Don't all these things count?" She had taken a lot of things from those people just then. She had vented her anger and become a lot richer. The Ghost King waved at her. "You earned those yourself. As for the winner's prize, it has to come from me. Do you want it or not?" Yes, of course Feng Wu wanted it. She wasn't stupid. The Ghost King nodded and pointed with his finger. Crack! There was the sound of a wall moving. The resplendent light, which followed, was so bright that they could barely open their eyes. Everyone involuntarily shielded their eyes with their hands to block the dazzling light. When the light faded, they could finally see what it was. There was a giant wooden bookshelf that was separated into cubes. Each cube was 1 cubic centimeter in size. A treasure was sealed in each cube in a circle of light. Do you know that saying? Crossing his hands behind his back, the black-robed Ghost King raised his chin and glanced at the others. "What saying?" Feng Wu asked. "Winner takes all." The Ghost King smiled at Feng Wu. "Your survival team turned things around and survived. Therefore, all the treasure here belongs to your team." Ah! The members of the survival team were thrilled. "Really? They're all ours? Gosh, am I dreaming?" Look, in that circle of light is a wordless heavenly book scroll. And isn't that the blue-eye sword? That's golden armor. And that's... It was true. The black-robed Ghost King was very generous. The big shelf contained over a dozen things that would be treasures in the world outside. The value of each piece would surprise a medium-ranked clan. Any treasure here was as good as the prizes Feng Sun found in the treasure hall. Duguyamo was the most excited one. She had remained on Feng Wu's side. Not only did she survive, she was also going to be so generously rewarded as well. Of course she was excited. Feng Wu. Duguyamo stared at Feng Wu. She was convinced that Feng Wu was the chosen one. She would be on Feng Wu's side from now on, no matter what other people said. The captain of the team would distribute the treasure. Feng Wu looked around and said, "The survival team had 7 members at first, but 2 people left us on the 7th floor, so we only have 5 members left." Seeing the look on Feng Aran and Feng Sang's faces, Duguyamo couldn't help chuckling. Meanwhile, Feng Aran and Feng Sang were very frustrated. Had it not been for their choice, they would be able to keep their assets and enjoy this treasure. But now... Chapter 1995, Unforeseen Event 1. Chapter 1995, Unforeseen Event 1. Feng Wu didn't seem to notice Duguyamo's reaction. She said in a serious tone, "There are 5 of us and 14 treasures. How are we going to divide them up? To be fair, each one of us will take 2 pieces first, and the 4 of you can divide the remaining 4 among you. As for me," Feng Wu smiled, "I have enough prizes for the day." Wow! Duguyamo almost jumped up in excitement. "I thought I was only going to have 2, but I can have 3 now. This is great." Jun Linyan was very happy as well. Soon, they divided up the 14 pieces. This time, the survival team obtained a complete victory, and the chosen team lost almost everything. The black-robed Ghost King gave the chosen team a sympathetic look. He wanted to play fair and square, but Feng Wu simply had too powerful a patron. It was someone he couldn't afford to offend at that moment. Rumble. A streak of lightning struck down at the roof of the Universe Hall. What on earth was going on here? Everyone looked at the Ghost King in bewilderment. Only he could tell them what was going on. However, the Ghost King seemed to pale a little. Seriously? Wasn't he in control over everything? If that wasn't the case, they were in trouble. Get out of here. The Ghost King's face darkened. Out? Where? Everyone was confused. Ranmil opened her eyes wide. Your Grace, we're here for the seed of the Spirit Source, and it's not. Things have changed. If you don't leave, you'll die here. After that, he flipped his sleeve and left. They looked at one another, utterly confused. What was going on? The Ghost King looked worried. So it must be something big. Are we really going to leave now? I don't want to. The seed of the Spirit Source is still here among the tombs. Everyone was obsessed with that seed, especially Ranmil. That seed could raise one's cultivation level by a whole stage and could repair all the damage. That was to say, without it, Ranmil would remain a spiritual grandmaster. But if she could find it, she would instantly get her cultivation attainments back and become a spiritual lord again. Moreover, she would then be raised to the next stage and become a spiritual king. Therefore, she didn't want to give up. Feng Wu paled a little because she could sense the ground shaking. It was very slight, but was increasing in intensity. Something much larger was coming. Get out now. She was hesitating when she heard a familiar voice. It was the White Fairy. Get out now. The whole place is going to collapse. The White Fairy was communicating with her mental power from a long distance away. Feng Wu knew that cost a great amount of spiritual energy. That was how urgent this matter was. Feng Wu pleaded, please get Xiaoga out. I'll go find Xiuling. The White Fairy couldn't believe it. Why would she care about a maid at a moment like this? Chapter 1996, Unforeseen Event 2. Chapter 1996, Unforeseen Event 2. But the White Fairy knew that Feng Wu could be stubborn to a fault. Once she made up her mind, no one could change it. She had to say yes. Feng Wu looked back at Feng Sun and the others. Get out. Now. But Feng Sun didn't want to leave. Which is more important, your life or the prize? Feng Wu was actually the most frustrated of them all. One had to gain the recognition of all three Ghost Kings. With some painstaking effort, she had finally achieved that with 2 Ghost Kings. 2 flames had been ignited on her Ghost King seal, and there was only one left. Once she took care of the remaining one, she would have the seed of the Spirit Source. However, with what was happening, Feng Wu had to make a difficult choice. When Feng Wu rushed out of the hall, dragging Feng Sun behind her, Dugayamo immediately followed her out. Before, she would look at Dugamengshi, her brother, but now, her first reaction was to follow Feng Wu and do everything she did. Ranmil stomped her foot in frustration. She clutched a piece of iron in her sleeve. That was her last resort. She had swallowed all the humiliation so that she could take the seed of the Spirit Source with that thing. But now, sister, let's go. Although Sapphiro didn't like Ranmil, they were still sisters, so she dragged Ranmil toward the exit as well. Thump! The ground started shaking. The roof caved in, and giant rocks started falling. The ground cracked open. Run! The tombs seemed to be gripped by an invisible hand, and the buildings turned into rubble as they watched. Run! This time, Feng Sun was the one dragging Feng Wu behind him as he ran at top speed. Although he was running as fast as he could, the collapsing buildings were catching up with them. Stones smashed down. Their ears were buzzing. They were panting and stumbling. Feng Yiran ran at the rear, and a stone hit him in the back. The pain was excruciating. But he didn't dare pause, nor did he have time to complain. He had to keep running. At that critical moment, Feng Wu saw a fork in the road. She told Feng Sun, "You guys go ahead. I'll be right back." After that, she ran away from Feng Sun. It happened so fast that when Feng Sun realized it, she was out of sight. Feng Sun yelled in frustration. He wanted to go back for her, but stones kept falling down, and she was nowhere to be seen. That girl! Feng Sun wanted to kick Feng Wu in the butt. Just then, Ranmil and the others ran past Feng Sun and toward the exit. Oh no! Jun Linyun gritted his teeth. I remember that once the door to the tombs close, it'll be very hard to open it again. Feng Sun stared at him. Jun Linyun stomped his foot. Ranmil hates Xiao Wu so much. If she guards the door, even if Xiao Wu can reach the exit in time, Ranmil still won't let her pass. Xiao Wu will be buried alive. Feng Sun realized it as well. He smacked his head and said, "Come, let's hold the door." They were worried that Ranmil would try some new trick. By then, Feng Wu and Ranmil had accumulated so many grudges between them that they had stopped hiding their intent to kill each other. Chapter 1997 Unforeseen Event 3 Chapter 1997 Unforeseen Event 3 Sigh. If Xiao Wu had hidden some of her contempt toward Ranmil, things wouldn't have gotten this far. Jun Linyun shook his head. Forget it. That would never happen. Feng Sun smiled bitterly. That's what Xiao Wu is like. Once she has enough power, she'll take her revenge right away and never wait until later. Jun Linyun said, I can only hope that my instinct is wrong and that Ranmil won't be so heartless. Feng Sun glanced at Jun Linyun. I have a feeling that your instinct is quite accurate. Jun Linyun asked, why are you so sure? Feng Sun said, Ranmil was so perfect at first. She was warm-hearted, kind, and innocent. Someone like her won't be able to keep up the act in a critical moment like this. Once she showed her true self, she became vicious and vile. That lovely girl was nowhere to be found. Feng Sun shook his head. She stopped pretending so. Quickly, he suddenly cried out. He seemed to have remembered something very important. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was headed for the pool where Qiuling was. Earlier, she had sent Qiuling into that pool so that she could obtain an ultimate spiritual body. When she arrived, she saw Qiuling lying motionless in the pool. Around her, the ghosts were all screaming. Qiuling, Qiuling. Feng Wu tried to wake her up, but when she touched her, her hand trembled involuntarily. That was the fluctuation of spiritual essence. Qiuling had succeeded. Right now, she had a genuine ultimate spiritual body. This is great. Tears welled up in Feng Wu's eyes. Only she knew how badly Qiuling wanted to cultivate and to keep up with her. You'll always be with me. I won't leave you behind. Feng Wu stroked Qiuling's hair. To her, Qiuling had always been like a big sister. Qiuling, you're only a junior spiritual grandmaster now, but soon the world will know your talent. Feng Wu took a deep breath. She knew that it wasn't time to celebrate yet. If she didn't get the two of them out in time, they would die here. Let's go. Feng Wu ran toward the exit with Qiuling on her back. As she ran, stones fell like heavy rain. Her head would crack open if any of them hit her. Feng Wu needed to be extremely careful to dodge them. Meanwhile, she had to keep an eye on the ground. There were cracks all over the ground. Some were deeper and longer, and others were shallower and shorter. Right now, Feng Wu looked like an elf walking in the dark. Even with a person on her back, she still moved as nimbly as a cat. It seemed easy, but only Feng Wu knew how much energy it cost her to stay safe. Whoosh! When Feng Wu reached the exit with Qiuling. Xiao Wu, quickly! Feng Sun held the stone door open with both hands and shouted at Feng Wu. Feng Wu saw his hands. Blue veins popped on the back of them, and his knuckles had turned white. The door was closing. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.